I also had to deal with some important documents as soon as possible. Before I knew it, it was already past midnight. But whenever I thought about returning to Kyoto and seeing Jie Yunshu tomorrow, all the hard work felt worthwhile. I kept working until 2 in the morning. Before finally closing my laptop, I stretched and prepared to get some rest. When I checked my phone, I saw an unread message from Wenruksu. I opened it and saw that it was a photo. In the photo, Jie Yunshu was at a bar with a muscular man standing in front of her. His back was facing the camera, so his face couldn't be seen clearly. But judging by his physique, he was probably quite handsome. Judging from the angle of the photo, the man seemed to be leaning down toward her. The moment I saw the photo, my expression instantly darkened. Without the slightest hesitation, I immediately called Wenruksu. The call connected, and Wenruksu's voice sounded somewhat subdued. "You're still awake this late?" I replied coldly. "Wenruksu, what do you mean by sending me this photo?" "I just wanted to tell you that Jie Yunshu doesn't deserve you." I sneered. "If you've got the guts, say that to Jie Yunshu's face." "Wenruksu, I didn't expect you to be just like your brother, a petty person who resorts to dirty tricks behind people's backs." Wenruksu frowned. Could it be that he thought she'd hired someone to follow Jie Yunshu and secretly take the photo? "I didn't have anyone take it. I happened to see someone else post it and forwarded it to you because I wanted you to see clearly what kind of person Jie Yunshu really is." As soon as Wenruksu finished speaking, I immediately retorted. "I know exactly what kind of person Jie Yunshu is. I don't need you to remind me with a single photo. You trust her that much?" I fell silent for a moment. I trust my own judgment. I can't say for certain about other things, but I know Jie Yunshu's character very well. She's not the kind of person who messes around with men, especially not some guy from a nightclub. She wouldn't even be interested in someone like that. In the photo, Jie Yunshu and the man weren't making any physical contact. It was only the angle that made them look very close, as if they were about to kiss. But upon closer inspection, there was actually still some distance between them. I'm not an idiot. How could I be fooled by a single photo? Wenruksu was silent for a moment, before saying, "Maybe I overthought it. I apologize." "There's no need to apologize, Wenruksu, for my grandfather's sake. I'll let this go this time. Just don't do it again." "Okay." After thinking for a moment, I asked, "By the way, where did you see this photo?" "In my family group chat. My brother posted it. He happened to take it at the bar tonight." "I see. Got it. If there's nothing else, I'm hanging up. Get some rest. Good night." I hung up and opened the photo again. I was so angry that I couldn't sleep at all. Although I defended Jie Yunshu and chosen to trust her in front of Wenruksu, I was still very upset inside. When we'd spoken on the phone earlier, hadn't Jie Yunshu said she was at home? How did she end up at a bar so soon afterward? Liar in a fit of anger. I picked up my phone, ready to cancel my flight to Kyoto tomorrow afternoon. But when I saw that canceling would cost me several hundred yuan in fees, I stopped myself. I had to go there sooner or later anyway. Besides, I'd already worked overtime to finish everything. After thinking it over, I ultimately decided not to cancel. I definitely wasn't doing this for Jie Yunshu. I just didn't want to waste money. I didn't sleep well at all that night. When I got up the next morning, I told Grandpa that I was going to Kyoto that afternoon. "When you get to Kyoto, make some time to visit the Wen family and see Grandpa Wen. Take a look at his leg for me." Come to think of it, the injury to his leg was partly caused when he saved me. That's why it became so serious. "Okay, I'll make time to visit Grandpa Wen. If it can be treated, I'll definitely do my best." Before leaving, I had Zushi stay behind to take care of Grandpa. I also asked him to start investigating the mysterious person who had met with Grandpa last time. Not long after I left the G residence, I noticed a black sedan following my car. No matter how I changed my speed, the sedan always stayed about 200 meters behind me. Since we were on a main road and I couldn't stop wherever I wanted, I ignored it for the time being. I wanted to see what exactly the people in that car were up to. Eventually, my car stopped outside the G Group building. I glanced back and saw that the sedan had stopped as well. I waited for a while, but no one got out of the car. After thinking for a moment, I got out and walked straight toward it. I hadn't been back in Jincheng for long, and I hadn't offended anyone. So who was following me? But before I reached the car, I saw a familiar person step out of the front passenger seat. Yang Ting. Why was she here? If she was here, then could Jia Yunshu also be here? Mr. G. Yang Ting looked at me and nodded slightly, then opened the rear door. When I saw Jia Yunshu sitting inside, my eyes widened in surprise. Why are you here? Weren't you still in Kyoto last night? How did you end up in Jincheng so quickly? Jia Yunshu looked at me standing outside. Get in. Without hesitation, I got into the car. When did you get here? I asked. Jia Yunshu took my hand. I arrived at 4 in the morning. After arriving in Jincheng, she'd originally wanted to call me, but thinking that I must still be asleep at that hour, she couldn't bear to disturb me. So, she'd been waiting outside the G residence the entire time. She hadn't slept all night. Her eyes were bloodshot, and she looked somewhat exhausted. I frowned. Did something happen that made you rush to Jincheng? As soon as I finished speaking, Jia Yunshu leaned into my arms. I missed you. So I wanted to come see you. Being closer to me made her feel more at ease. I looked up at Jia Yunshu. After staying awake all night, her face looked especially haggard. You didn't have to come all this way. You could have just called or video chatted with me. Jia Yunshu shook her head. Talking over the phone or video is completely different from seeing you in person. Why, did you miss me? Jia Yunshu asked as she caressed my cheek. I remember the photo I'd seen last night and snorted coldly. No. Jia Yunshu's eyes darkened, and she tightened her arms around me. Heartless man. And here I was missing you so much. The corners of my lips lifted. I pushed Jia Yunshu away and deliberately glared at her with a stern expression. You miss me, yet you went to a nightclub to have fun. Jia Yunshu was completely baffled by my words. When did I ever go to a nightclub to have fun? I folded my arms and looked leisurely at her. Even Jia Yunshu has times when she won't admit what she's done. After saying that, I leaned closer to her collar and sniffed. Sure enough, she smelled of alcohol. The smell of alcohol hasn't even faded yet. Jia Yunshu frowned even more deeply. I did drink last night, but I was with Shang Qianing. If you don't believe me, you can call her and ask. But other than drinking, I didn't do anything inappropriate. I believed her about that, but there was no way I'd let her off that easily. I opened my photo gallery and found the picture when Ruxu had sent me, then showed it to her. Take a look for yourself. The moment Jia Yunshu saw it, her expression instantly turned cold. Someone had secretly taken a photo of her, and the photo had even made its way to me. Who sent this to you? I saw it in a gossip group chat. I casually replied. For Grandpa's sake. I decided not to tell her it was Wen Ruxu. Jia Yunshu looked at me nervously. Why? Let me explain. I don't know this man. Last night at the bar. Jia Yunshu's nervous expression made me laugh. I know your taste isn't that bad. Besides, I'm not stupid. The angle of this photo is so misleading. How can I not tell it's just a trick of perspective? Jia Yunshu stared at me in a daze. You believe me? I put my phone away and nodded. Yeah, at least when it comes to this, I believe you. After knowing her for more than 2 years, I still understood her to some extent. Jia Yunshu hugged me again, feeling as though something had suddenly filled her heart, giving her an unprecedented sense of fulfillment. Nothing could bring greater peace of mind than being trusted by the person you loved. Why? Thank you. Jia Yunshu suddenly felt a little guilty. I trusted her so much. Yet she was still bothered by the photos when Ruxu had posted on her social media last night. I had no idea what Jia Yunshu was thinking. I poked her cheek. Jia Yunshu, your vigilance really needs work. You didn't even notice someone secretly taking your picture. My mind was completely occupied with thoughts of you, so I didn't notice. I let her hold me. She rested her head against my chest. Haven't you been really busy these past couple of days? Instead of getting some proper rest when you had time, why did you go drinking? Did something happen? Jia Yunshu was silent for a moment, then looked into my eyes. The problem is me. I should have just asked you directly last night. I didn't quite understand. When Ruxu went to the G residence to visit your grandpa last night, didn't she? Jia Yunshu asked. I froze. How did you? No, when Ruxu posted on Moments. She even posted a photo of your garden. Really? I don't have Wen Ruxu on WeChat. So I didn't know. Jia Yunshu lowered her head, burying her face against my neck. Ji Hui, when I called you last night, you didn't tell me the truth. As she spoke, she gently bit my neck. I pushed her slightly. If you already knew, why didn't you just ask me? You deliberately tried to trick me by asking if I'd gone for a walk. Jia Yunshu, you're so calculating. Jia Yunshu kissed the spot she'd just bitten. I thought you'd tell me the truth. Don't you know why I didn't tell you the truth? I retorted bluntly. Someone gets jealous of the slightest thing. Last time, I merely had a meal with Wenruxu, and you nearly destroyed her company. If you'd known that she not only came to my house for dinner last night, but I also walked around the garden with her, wouldn't you have gone crazy with jealousy and practically killed her? As far as I was concerned, the word jealous might as well have been invented specifically for Jia Yunshu. Jia Yunshu cupped my face and leaned in to kiss me. Ji Hui, I was wrong. My heart stirred. It was rare to hear Jia Yunshu admit she was wrong. When she tried to kiss me again, I turned my head away, and her kiss landed on my cheek instead. Jia Yunshu, I have very high standards. Not just any woman can catch my eye. I held Jia Yunshu by the chin and made her look me in the eyes. You're just too outstanding. You're always attracting other men's attention. Jia Yunshu raised an eyebrow. My fault. If I hadn't divorced you, you'd still be my husband right now. Who would dare covet me? Jia Yunshu regretted it so much now that her guts were practically turning green. The corners of my lips curved upward, and I pushed her away. I checked the time. The morning meeting was about to begin. I straightened my clothes. I have to go upstairs. I have a meeting soon. Jia Yunshu grabbed my hand. I saw you carrying a suitcase when you left home earlier. Where are you going? I looked at Jia Yunshu and calmly replied, I'm going on a business trip. Once I'm done with things at the company, I'll head straight to the airport. A business trip? Jia Yunshu's first thought was that I was going abroad again. I'd only been back for a few days, and I was already leaving again. Where are you going? When will you be back? Are you going alone or with someone? I'm not sure when I'll be back. It depends on how things progress. I'm going alone. Grandpa will be here by himself, and I'm worried about him. So I'm leaving Zushi behind to take care of him. As for where I'm going, I gave her a teasing smile, deliberately keeping Jia Yunshu in suspense. Take a guess. Country M or country F? The G family's business mainly involved clothing import and export. Aside from the domestic market, most of its overseas business was concentrated in those two countries. I shook my head. No. Jia Yunshu frowned. Then is it country M? Not country F either. Could it be somewhere even farther overseas? If the G family was planning to expand into new foreign markets, that was certainly possible. After keeping Jia Yunshu in suspense long enough, I smiled mysteriously and said, Kyoto. Jia Yunshu raised an eyebrow. The uneasiness in her heart instantly turned into joy. You're going to Kyoto? I smiled brightly. Yeah. There's a project I need to negotiate in person. What project? Trade secret. I opened the car door and said, I booked a 2 p.m. flight to Kyoto. Then I walked into the company building. Jia Yunshu watched me, her eyes filled with amusement. She looked at Yang Ting and instructed, book a 2 p.m. flight back to Kyoto. Yes. Jia Yunshu then sent me a message. I'll pick you up at noon. We'll have lunch together, then head to the airport. A little while later, I replied with an OK sticker. Jia Yunshu stared at her phone, a broad smile spreading across her face. Just then, Yang Ting turned around from the passenger seat and looked at Jia Yunshu. Yunshu, it's Wenruxu. Jia Yunshu frowned and looked up. She saw Wenruxu getting out of a car. It looked like she was heading to the G group. Jia Yunshu's expression darkened. Go stop her from me. Wenruxu was obviously going to the G group to see me. But before she could enter the G group building, someone stopped her. President Wen. Assistant Yang. Upon seeing Yang Ting, Wenruxu was visibly startled. If Yang Ting was here, that meant Jia Yunshu was here too. President Wen. President Jia would like to see you. There was a cafe across from the G group. At that moment, Jia Yunshu and Wenruxu sat facing each other. The atmosphere was tense. President Jia, what brings you to Jincheng today? Wenruxu stirred the coffee in her cup, her polite tone carrying a hint of aloofness. Jia Yunshu took a sip of coffee. Ji Huai said he missed me, so I rushed over here overnight to see him. Really? Wen Ruxu's eyes flickered. After a brief pause, she said, it's rare to see a divorced couple still so close. Jia Yunshu stared at Wen Ruxu, her eyes narrowing slightly. Wen Ruxu, even if Ji Huai and I aren't married right now, he's still not someone you can covet. Wen Ruxu straightened up, a gentle, easygoing smile on her face. To be honest, President Jia, I fell in love with Ji Huai at first sight. I'm planning to pursue him, and Ji Huai's grandfather is quite pleased with me too. So what? If Wen Ruxu had said this before Jia Yunshu came to see me, Jia Yunshu might have believed her. But now, her words had no effect on Jia Yunshu at all. As long as Ji Huai doesn't like you, you don't stand a chance. I know Ji Huai doesn't like me. I confessed my feelings to him last night, and he rejected me. But I don't intend to give up just like that. Wen Ruxu paused, looking at Jia Yunshu with interest. She continued, as far as I know, Ji Huai hasn't taken you back either. In that sense, we're the same. We're both pursuing Ji Huai. As for who he'll ultimately choose, that's still hard to say. Jia Yunshu sneered. Wen Ruxu, whether Ji Huai and I are divorced or not, he's still mine. If you dare set your sights on him, have you considered the consequences? Wen Ruxu was slightly startled. After a moment of silence, she said, Jia Yunshu, if you love him so much, then do you dare tell him about the hereditary disease in the Jia family? Jia Yunshu's pupils contracted. The Jia family had a history of hereditary illness, and very few people knew about it. Apart from members of the Jia family, only the family's private doctor knew. So, how did Wen Ruxu know about it? Who told you? Wen Ruxu laughed. I ran into Jia Qiyu at a reception a few days ago. He mentioned it to me. Jia Yunshu immediately understood. Wen Ruxu, for your grandfather's sake, I'll warn you one last time. Stay away from Ji Huai. Otherwise, don't blame me for what happens next. Wen Ruxu took a sip of her coffee. I'll remember your warning, President Jia. But our families have always been close. So Ji Huai and I will inevitably have some interactions in the future. With that, Wen Ruxu stood up. Enjoy your coffee. I'll be leaving now. Wen Ruxu had originally planned to find me today and apologize in person for what happened last night. But after talking with Jia Yunshu, she gave up on the idea. She had already experienced Jia Yunshu's methods firsthand. Perhaps it was better to keep some distance from me. At 2 in the afternoon, Jia Yunshu and I flew back to Kyoto together. After arriving in Kyoto, Jia Yunshu had just turned on her phone. When she noticed to missed calls from Jia Linger, she immediately called her back. As soon as the call connected, Jia Linger's sobbing voice came through. Sis, come save me. Linger, Jia Yunshu's heart tightened. Where are you? What happened? On the other end, Jia Linger was crying so hard, she could barely catch her breath. Sis, I'm at the old residence. Mom and Dad locked me in my room and won't let me leave. They want me to marry that spoiled heir from the Wang family. I don't want to marry him. Sis, please come save me. Wait for me. I'll be there right away. Seeing Jia Yunshu's expression, I asked anxiously, what happened to Linger? I'll explain on the way. Jia Yunshu pulled me into the car and immediately told the driver to head to the old residence. On the way, Jia Yunshu told me what Jia Linger had said over the phone. I was furious when I heard it. What era are we living in? They're still going by parents' orders and matchmakers' arrangements. What are your parents thinking? I looked at Jia Yunshu. Who is this spoiled heir from the Wang family? How come I've never heard of him? Wang Haocheng, the heir to Wangshao Entertainment. Him? My eyes widened. No way. Everyone in the elite circle knew Wang Haocheng's notorious reputation. As for Wang Haocheng himself, was notorious in both the elite and entertainment circles for being a playboy. If he ranked second among spoiled playboys, no one would dare claim first place. Taking advantage of his family's entertainment company, he not only coerced artists under the company into sleeping with but was also frequently photographed by paparazzi, entering and leaving hotels with influencers and young models. His private life was an absolute mess, and Jia Zimin actually wanted to marry his own daughter off to scum like that. Has he lost his mind? If Jia Linger marries him, her entire life will be ruined. I looked at Jia Yunshu. Jia Yunshu, no matter what, you can't let Jia Linger marry that scumbag Wang Haocheng. Jia Yunshu's gaze darkened. Don't worry. I won't let Linger marry him. Half an hour later, The car stopped outside the Jia family's old residence. I had originally planned to wait for Jia Yunshu in the car, but I was too worried about Jia Linger, so I ultimately got out with Jia Yunshu. Before we even entered the house, we heard Jo Suwei's voice from inside. Let her make a fuss. Let's see what she can possibly do. We've raised her for so many years. It's time for her to repay us. Oh, I almost forgot. Go upstairs and take that little brat's phone away, so she can't call Yunshu and tip her off. Young miss, hearing the servant's words, the woman abruptly looked up and saw Jia Yunshu and me walking in. She immediately stood up, smiling brightly. Yunshu, you're back? As she spoke, she glanced at me from the corner of her eye. What are you doing here? Where did you lock Linger up? Jia Yunshu asked bluntly. Jo Suwei immediately realized something was wrong. It had to be Jia Linger. That little brat must have called Jia Yunshu. She kept a smile on her face and said, Yunshu, what are you talking about? Why would I lock her up for no reason? Your father's birthday is coming up, and there's been a lot going on at home lately. I wanted her to help out at the old residence, so I called her back. I immediately said, that's not what Linger told us. Jo Suwei glared at me. This is the Jia family's private matter. Since when is it your place, an outsider, to interfere? Jia Yunshu stepped in front of me. Mom, Jihua isn't an outsider. If he's not an outsider, then am I? Jo Suwei dropped onto the sofa, looking at Jia Yunshu reproachfully. You don't come home even once a month, and the moment you do, you make me angry. Do you even still see me as your mother? What's going on? Jia Zimin was coming down the stairs. Jo Suwei turned to him angrily. Ask your wonderful daughter. Jia Yunshu looked at her father and asked. Linger said you're planning a marriage alliance with the Wang family and want her to marry Wang Haocheng. Jia Zimin came downstairs and nodded. That's right. Your mother and I discussed it and think Wang Haocheng is a good match. Besides, the Wang family is one of the most prominent families in Kyoto. Linger won't be mistreated if she marries into their family. The moment I heard that, my anger flared up. A good match. What's good about him? Everyone knows Wang Haocheng is a scumbag. If you make Linger marry him, aren't you basically throwing her into a pit of fire? Jia Zimin looked at me with a sinister gaze. Mr. Ji, this is the Jia family's business. I clenched my teeth, barely holding back the urge to curse. Jia Zimin said, Wang Haocheng may be a little promiscuous, but once he gets married, he'll naturally settle down. I clenched my fists tightly. How could a biological father actually say something like that? I really wanted to punch someone. Jia Yunshu looked firmly at her father. Dad, I don't agree to this marriage. Linger doesn't like Wang Haocheng. I won't let her marry him. The Jia family doesn't need to sacrifice her happiness in exchange for business interests. Jo Suwei's expression turned ugly. Jia Yunshu, we raised her for more than 20 years, providing her with food, clothes, and an education. What's wrong with asking her to make a small sacrifice now? There's no need. Jia Yunshu stared at her parents. Her deep eyes narrowed slightly, faint anger showing in them. My sister doesn't need to sacrifice herself for anyone or anything. Jia Zimin's expression darkened, and his face turned cold as well. We've already settled this matter with the Wang family. The engagement will be announced at the birthday banquet in a few days. If we back out now, where would that leave the Jia family's reputation? He had already anticipated that Jia Yunshu would oppose the marriage, but he hadn't expected her attitude to be so uncompromising. Settled, Jia Yunshu sneered. What do you take Linger for? A commodity? Dad, after you die someday, how will you face Grandpa? And how will you face Jia Yu, whom you drove to her death? Jia Yu was the name of Jia Linger's mother. When Jia Zimin heard that, he flew into a rage. He grabbed a cup from the table and hurled it at Jia Yunshu. You ungrateful brat. With a loud crash, the teacup struck Jia Yunshu hard on the head. Blood immediately appeared on her forehead. I was both worried and heartbroken. I quickly pulled a handkerchief from my bag and pressed it against the wound on her head. I'm fine. Jia Yunshu took my hand and pulled me behind her. Her icy gaze swept over her parents. Jia Yunshu, how can you speak to your father like that? Jia Zimin glared at Jia Yunshu with a livid expression. Because of what she had just said, he was trembling with rage, unable to even speak properly. Yang Ting, Go find Linger. Jia Yunshu ordered. Yes, Jia Zimin took 2 deep breaths. Jia Yunshu, how did I end up with such an unfilial daughter? So this is why you brought Jia Qiyu back? Jia Yunshu stared expressionlessly at her father, her gaze icy to the extreme. It seems you've forgotten the Jia family's rule, that illegitimate children aren't allowed into the family. Jia Zimin roared. I'm the head of the Jia family now. It's not your place to tell me how to run things. Jia Yunshu smiled sarcastically. Fine. As long as you're happy. Soon, Yang Ting found Jia Linger locked inside a room in the small building in the backyard. When she learned that Jia Yunshu and I were here, Jia Linger hurried over. Sis, brother Jihuai. Linger, are you alright? I noticed bruises on her wrist, and asked with concern. I'm fine, sis. How did you get hurt? Jia Yunshu glanced at Jia Linger, then turned to Jia Zimin. I'm taking Linger with me. Since you don't treat her like your daughter, then stop trying to control her life. Seeing Jia Yunshu about to leave with Jia Linger, Jia Zimin shouted angrily, Jia Linger, if you dare take one step out of this house today, then don't ever call me your father again. Jia Linger's back stiffened. She looked up at Jia Yunshu beside her. Jia Yunshu patted Jia Linger on the shoulder, silently giving her strength. Jia Linger took a deep breath and walked out without looking back. The 3 of us walked out of the Jia residence and saw a Porsche driving toward us. The car stopped at the entrance. Then Jia Qiyu stepped out of the car. Jia Yunshu, Linger, Mr. G. Jia Qiyu looked at the wound on Jia Yunshu's head and raised an eyebrow slightly. What happened? Jia Linger glared at her with hostility. Jia Qiyu, don't think I don't know. You're the one who suggested to Dad that I marry Wang Haocheng for an alliance. Hearing this, Jia Yunshu frowned. Jia Qiyu spread her hands, wearing a mocking smile. Linger, you're wrongly accusing me. I only casually mentioned to Dad that you're old enough to get married. I just wanted him to take you out more and introduce you to some people. Marrying you to Wang Haocheng was entirely Dad's idea. It had nothing to do with me. Jia Linger's expression turned cold. Do you think I don't know what you're plotting? Jia Yunshu stared at Jia Qiyu, her dark eyes deep and unfathomable. Jia Qiyu, I'm warning you. Don't test my limits. Jia Qiyu's expression remained cold as she smiled at Jia Yunshu. I wouldn't dare. Although she said she wouldn't dare, Jia Qiyu's eyes were filled with provocation. I was worried about the wound on Jia Yunshu's head, so I pulled her into the car. Instead of arguing any further with Jia Qiyu watched them get into the car and leave, the smile on her face gradually stiffening. When she turned and went inside, she saw her father sitting on the sofa with a gloomy expression. Zimin, calm down. Don't make yourself sick from anger. Qiyu is back. When Jo Sui saw Jia Qiyu return, her expression instantly softened. Jia Qiyu smiled and nodded. Dad, Mom, I just ran into Sis and Linger at the entrance. Did something happen? Don't even mention that wretched girl. All she knows how to do is oppose us. At the mention of Jia Yunshu, Jo Sui gritted her teeth in anger. Thinking back to what happened years ago, Jo Sui couldn't help blaming Jia Zimin. If you'd listened to me back then and killed her, we wouldn't have all these problems now. Jia Zimin shot her a piercing look. Do you think the old man would have just stood by and done nothing? Enough. Jia Zimin cut her off, his expression stern. You're never to mention this matter again. Jo Sui snorted unhappily. She had endured grievances for so many years, and had finally waited until the old man passed away. Now her son had also returned to her side. There was no reason for her to keep enduring such grievances. Do you hear me? Jia Zimin glared angrily at Jo Sui. Jia Yunshu was personally raised and trained by the old master. If she ever finds out about that matter, do you really think she'll let it go? Jo Sui froze for a moment, then nodded. Don't worry. I know what I'm doing. Jia Qiyu silently watched the two of them. Wearing a faint, unreadable smile, Jia Zimin stood up. Qiyu, come with me to the study. Okay. Inside the study, Jia Zimin handed Jia Qiyu a document. Make time to visit the company more often. I'll find a suitable opportunity to transfer the 20% of shares I hold into your name. But, even then, you still won't own as many shares as Jia Yunshu. If you want to establish yourself in the company, You must secure the Northern Suburbs project. Jia Qiyu took the document and opened it. Dad, don't worry. I'll do my best. Not just do your best. You have to secure it. Jia Zimin looked at her seriously. Qiyu. Jia Yunshu's capabilities. I don't think I need to tell you how capable she is. If you don't want her to outshine you in everything, then you absolutely have to accomplish this. Jia Zimin patted her on the shoulder. Put all your energy into this project. Do a good job. Don't disappoint me. Don't worry, Dad. If there's nothing else, I'll head out. Jia Qiyu walked out of the study. The smile on her face instantly disappeared, replaced by a cold, calculating gloom. Meanwhile, Jia Yunshu's car was equipped with a first aid kit. As soon as I got in, I treated her wound. Fortunately, the wound wasn't deep. It had only broken the skin slightly, and the bleeding soon stopped. You're usually so quick to react. Why did you just stand there like a statue earlier? You didn't even know to dodge. I complained while bandaging Jia Yunshu's wound. My heart nearly broke seeing you get hurt. Jia Yunshu looked at me. Gone was her domineering demeanor from earlier. Her eyes were now filled with tenderness. Jiwai. You're worried about me. I rolled my eyes at her. Without saying anything, Jia Linger sat in the corner, trying to make herself as inconspicuous as possible, so she wouldn't disturb us. After bandaging Jia Yunshu's wound, I took some ointment for bruises from the first aid kit. Linger, come here. Let me look at your wrist. Jia Linger looked down at her wrist. I'm fine. They're just a little bruised. Put some ointment on them. They'll heal faster. Thank you, Brother Jihuai. Brother Jihuai, I'm really so happy that you're back. I patted her on the shoulder, then turned to Jia Yunshu. Jia Yunshu, your parents won't keep forcing Linger to marry Wang Haocheng, will they? Jia Linger was also a little worried. Sis, Dad seems determined to form a marriage alliance with the Wang family. Jia Yunshu gave her a reassuring look. With me here, no one can force you to marry anyone. Jia Linger instantly felt completely reassured. With you saying that, I'm not afraid of anything anymore. After returning to Eugene Manor, Yang Ting took my suitcase out of the car, but I stopped her. I'm not staying here. Jia Yunshu immediately grabbed my hand. If you're not staying here, then where are you going to stay? I have a place to stay. Jia Yunshu and I are already divorced. It wouldn't be appropriate for me to keep living here. Before securing the Northern Suburbs project, I'd have to travel back and forth between Kyoto and Jincheng. So, I'd already had someone buy me an apartment in Kyoto. Brother Jihuai, don't. How could anywhere else be as comfortable as here? Jia Linger tried to persuade me. More importantly, if he lived somewhere else, how could her sister get closer to him? She had always hoped the two of them would remarry. I shook my head. It's fine. I'm pretty adaptable. Jia Yunshu's expression darkened. After a moment of silence, she said, It's already getting late. And you haven't had dinner yet. Just stay here for tonight. I'll take you back to your place tomorrow morning. I thought for a moment. All right. That night, I stayed at Eugene Villa. After dinner, I called Zhu Shi to ask how Grandpa was doing. Only after learning that nothing unusual had happened did I finally feel relieved. I worked overtime in my room, reviewing some documents, then turned off the lights and went to sleep after 11. In the middle of the night, the bedroom door was silently pushed open. A woman's alluring figure slowly walked in. Jia Yunshu walked to the bedside and stared at the man sleeping soundly on the bed. Her expression unreadable yet helpless. What should I do tomorrow to make him stay? Playing the sympathy card won't work. I've tried that before, and it'll only make him angry. Why don't I just buy the place he's staying at? That actually sounds like a pretty good idea. I could give it a try. Jia Yunshu leaned down and kissed me on the lips. The next moment, she heard my helpless voice. I clearly remember locking the door from the inside. Jia Yunshu froze, then met my clear, lucid eyes. You're still awake. Jia Yunshu planted another kiss on the corner of my lips and said, This is my house. I have keys to every room. I miscalculated. I kissed Jia Yunshu on the lips, kissing her deeply and passionately. Since she had come to me herself, I had nothing left to hold back. I kissed Jia Yunshu passionately, but she pushed me away forcefully, breathing heavily. Then she lifted the blanket and lay down beside me. She did it all in one smooth motion. I blinked. By the time I realized what was happening, she was already lying beside me. What are you doing? Jia Yunshu said. It's late. Let's get some sleep. Go back to your own room. She buried her face against my neck without saying anything. Jia Yunshu, I raised my hand to smack her head. But then remembered that she was injured. So I silently lowered my hand. Forget it, considering she hadn't slept at all last night and was still injured. I wouldn't argue with her. Besides, it wasn't as if we'd never shared a bed before. I gazed at Jia Yunshu's profile. Her soft breaths brushed against my neck, making it slightly ticklish. We were lying very close together, listening to her heartbeat. I unknowingly drifted off to sleep. When I woke up the next morning, I washed up and went downstairs. I saw Jia Yunshu sitting on the sofa, reading the news on a tablet. What are your plans for today? Jia Yunshu asked me as I ate breakfast. I replied, I'm meeting a business partner later, and this afternoon, I need to visit the Wen family. You're going to the Wen residence. Jia Yunshu frowned. I'm going on behalf of Grandpa to visit Old Master Wen. Jia Yunshu nodded. As long as I wasn't going to see Wen Ruxu, she was fine with it. I'll go with you. I refused outright. No need. After breakfast, Jia Yunshu headed to the company and dropped me off at my apartment on the way. The apartment was very close to her company, just one street away. Early this morning, she had already found out where my apartment in Kyoto was. It was precisely because it was so close to her company that she abandoned the idea of buying the apartment building. Good things come to those who wait. Since I didn't want to live with her right now, she wouldn't force me. Besides, since this place was nearby, she could come over often. After Jia Yunshu left, I tidied up my belongings a little, then went to meet the business partner. If G Group wanted to bid on the North Suburbs Development Project, the first step was to obtain bidding eligibility from this partner. Given G Group's strength, that wasn't difficult. However, I learned from the business partner that several major families in Kyoto were closely eyeing the project. G Group didn't have much of an advantage against them, especially the Jia family. After speaking with the business partner, I thought it over and decided to find some time to get some information from Jia Yunshu. That afternoon, I returned to the apartment, grabbed my medical kit, and went to the Wen residence. A servant led me inside. I had originally come to see Old Master Wen, but when Shiji stopped me in the garden, blocking my way. What are you doing at my house? For once, I looked at Wen Shiji good-naturedly, with a smile on my face. I'm here to visit Grandpa Wen, on his own turf. Wen Shiji was full of arrogance. Who the hell do you think you are? You think you can just visit my grandfather whenever you want? I narrowed my eyes slightly, a cold glint flashing in them. Wen Shiji, looks like you still haven't learned your lesson from last time. Wen Shiji clenched his fists, his face turning livid. I gave a faint laugh, but there was no amusement in my voice. For your grandfather's sake, I won't hold this against you, but I'm not someone who's always this good-tempered. Just then, Mrs. Wen came out of the house. Seeing me standing outside with her younger son, she said, Shiji, what are you standing there for? Hurry up and invite our guest inside. Mom, Mrs. Wen didn't wait for him to finish before warmly taking me inside. You must be Ji Huai. What a handsome young man. Come in and sit down. Dad mentioned you yesterday. How is your grandfather? Hello, Mrs. Wen. My grandfather is doing well. Don't call me Mrs. Wen. Call me Annie. I followed Chen Minjuan inside and saw Old Master Wen being pushed by a servant out of the elevator in his wheelchair. Ji Huai, you're here. Come over and let me take a look at you. The last time I saw you, you were still just a baby. In the blink of an eye, you've grown so much. Old Master Wen beckoned me over with a cheerful smile. Hello, Grandpa Wen. I walked over and crouched beside him. Grandpa Wen, how have you been? Old Master Wen nodded. I've been well. How about your grandfather? I heard he suffered a stroke before, and I was worried about him for quite some time. I wanted to visit, but your second uncle kept making excuses to stop me. I smiled. Family scandals shouldn't be aired in public, so I didn't tell him about the G family poisoning Grandpa. Grandpa has recovered quite well. He's already made a full recovery. When he has time, he'll come visit you. Old Master Wen held my arm. Don't crouch there. Get up and have a seat. After exchanging a few pleasantries with Old Master Wen, I said, Grandpa Wen, I heard from my grandfather that the injury to your legs dates back to when you were young, and that it still flares up frequently even after all these years. I've studied some medicine. Let me take a look at your condition. Wen Shiji, who was standing nearby, stepped forward So many renowned doctors have failed to cure my grandfather's chronic leg condition. What makes you think you can? As soon as Wen Shiji said that, old Master Wen scolded him. You little brat, what are you saying? Chen Minjuan also glared at her son. Shiji, watch how you speak. When Shiji protested, Mom, Grandpa has had this leg condition for so many years. We've had countless experts from China and abroad examine him, and none of them could cure him. I don't believe he's better than all those experts. I glanced at Wen Shiji with a faint smile. Don't worry, young Master Wen. If I didn't have the skills, I wouldn't have offered to treat him. Besides, Grandpa Wen and my grandfather have been friends for many years. I would never do anything to harm him. GY, don't listen to that brat's nonsense. I trust that you wouldn't harm me. Old Master Wen looked at me with a kindly smile and sighed. But as for my leg condition, I've seen many doctors over the years, but none have been able to cure it. At my age, I've long since given up hope. Grandpa Wen, if you trust me, let me examine your condition. Look, I even brought my medical kit. All right, then. I asked old Master Wen what medications he usually took, then examined the condition of his injured legs. After that, I checked his pulse and gained a general understanding of his condition. After thinking for a moment, I asked, Grandpa Wen, now that autumn has begun, have your knees been hurting so badly every night that you can't sleep? Wen Shiji sneered. My grandfather's knees only hurt when it rains, and besides, he's been sleeping very well lately. I glanced at him without saying anything. Chen Minjuan, however, looked at old Master Wen in surprise. Is that true? Old Master Wen looked at me in surprise. Since autumn began, the temperature difference between day and night had grown larger, and his knees had indeed been hurting every night. When it got severe, the pain kept him awake all night, and he even had to take painkillers for relief. Knowing that this chronic condition couldn't be cured, old Master Wen didn't want his family to worry, so he hadn't told anyone about it. Old Master Wen sighed. I didn't expect you to notice. It has indeed been like that lately. Chen Minjuan immediately grew anxious. Dad, why didn't you tell us about this? Exactly, Grandpa. Why didn't you tell us about something this serious? I'll call Dr. Zhang right now and ask him to come examine you. Although Wen Shiji didn't like me, he genuinely cared about his grandfather's health. After saying that, he picked up his phone, ready to call the doctor. Old Master Wen waved his hand. There's no need to go through all that trouble. This is an old condition of mine. Grandpa Wen, your leg injury happened too long ago. My abilities are limited, so I can't cure it completely. However, I can still relieve the pain in your legs. When Shiji's eyes lit up, he looked at me skeptically. Jihuai, are you serious? Old Master Wen looked at me and asked, Xiao Huai, I've suffered from this leg pain for almost 10 years. I've tried many treatments before, but none of them worked. What method do you have? I thought for a moment. Acupuncture, medicinal baths, and a few doses of traditional Chinese medicine. That should completely relieve the pain. When Shiji rolled his eyes at me, that's all. You must be joking. Chen Minjuan looked somewhat worried. Dad has tried acupuncture before, but it never had much effect. I looked at old Master Wen and asked, Grandpa Wen, if you trust me, you can let me give you one acupuncture treatment. You'll be able to see the results tonight. Old Master Wen didn't hesitate and agreed immediately. All right, let's try one acupuncture treatment. I was the grandson of his old friend, so he trusted me completely. Besides, I had just described his condition so accurately, so my medical skills must have some merit. Chen Minjuan pushed old Master Wen upstairs to his room. I followed upstairs carrying my medical kit, with Wen Shiji following behind me. I'm warning you, if you dare do anything to harm my grandfather, I won't let you off. Don't worry. Once we reached the room, Wen Shiji helped his grandfather lie down, then rolled up both of his trouser legs. To expose his knees, I washed my hands, put on medical gloves, and took an acupuncture kit out of my medical case. I took out my silver needles. Grandpa Wen, please relax. The first few needles may cause some aching and pressure, so you'll need to bear with it. Other than that, if you feel any discomfort, just let me know. All right. When Shiji and Chen Minjuan stood nearby, both looking somewhat nervous, I inserted needles into the Zuhai points and Yin Lingquan points above old Master Wen's knees, followed by the Heading and Liangqiu points. There were 9 needles in total, 18 needles across both knees. Old Master Wen looked at the silver needles in my hand and suddenly noticed something. He looked at me with astonishment in his eyes. Since this was his first treatment, I left the needles in for only 10 minutes, before removing them all. Grandpa Wen, how do you feel? I asked after removing the needles, when Shiji helped his grandfather sit up. Grandpa, how do you feel? At first, there was some aching and pressure, but afterward, my knees started feeling warm. Old Master Wen rubbed his knees. Right now, they feel as though I've applied a warm compress. Nice and warm. As I put away my silver needles, I said, this sensation should fade in about half an hour. You'll definitely get a good night's sleep tonight. Old Master Wen looked at me. Xiaohui, let me ask you something. The acupuncture technique you just used on me, was it the 9 needles of Fuxi? I was rather surprised. I hadn't expected Old Master Wen to recognize at a glance that I had used the 9 needles of Fuxi. My master passed this technique down to me. Who is your master? Old Master Wen asked curiously. After all, the 9 needles of Fuxi could be considered a priceless treasure. I looked at Old Master Wen apologetically. My master has already passed away. He told me not to casually mention his name to outsiders. In that case, I won't ask any further. What are the 9 needles of Fuxi? When Shiji asked curiously, Old Master Wen explained simply. It's a rather unique acupuncture technique. Even the silver needles used are different from ordinary ones. I nodded. Old Master Wen looked at me, his voice filled with emotion. I'd only heard people mention it before. And I'd also read some records about the 9 needles of Fuxi in old books. It said that the technique had already been lost. I never expected you to know it, GY. Hearing him say this, Chen Minjuan seemed to see a glimmer of hope. She asked me, if the 9 needles of Fuxi are so powerful, can they cure Dad's leg condition? Everyone turned to look at me. I looked at Grandpa Wen apologetically. Grandpa Wen's leg injury has been there for too long. Even if I use the 9 needles of Fuxi, I still can't cure it completely. But just as I said earlier, although it can't be completely cured, this technique can relieve your leg pain. Old Master Wen sighed. He hadn't held out much hope to begin with. Being able to relieve the leg pain that had plagued him for years was already a very good outcome. Old Master Wen looked at me. I know the condition of my legs very well. A complete cure is impossible. Xiaohui, if you can help relieve this chronic pain in my legs, I'll already be very grateful to you. I smiled. Grandpa Wen, I'll be staying in Kyoto for a while. If you need anything, you can contact me anytime. After finishing Old Master Wen's acupuncture treatment, I prepared to leave. However, Chen Minjuan was so hospitable that she insisted I stay for dinner. Unable to refuse her hospitality, I agreed. That evening, when Ruxu and her father, when Qinggriang, also returned, when he heard that I had given Grandpa acupuncture, when Qinggriang looked grateful, Mr. G, thank you so much. When Shiji immediately said, Dad, don't thank him too soon. Grandpa hasn't shown any improvement since the acupuncture. That 9 needles of Fuxi stuff might just be him bragging. Maybe he doesn't have any real skills at all. When Ruxu glanced at her younger brother and said, his medical skills are beyond doubt. Even Huang Lingling once asked him to help treat a patient. Old Master Wen looked at me curiously. Really? You know Huang Lingling? As members of prominent families, they naturally all knew Huang Lingling. Old Master Wen had even asked her to treat his legs before. Yes, a few years ago, I took part in a humanitarian relief mission. Huang Lingling was there as well. Chen Minjuan looked at me. A humanitarian relief mission. GY, then you're a Doctors Without Borders physician. I nodded. When Shiji looked at me skeptically. Are Doctors Without Borders physicians really that impressive? Of course they are. Not just any doctor can join that organization. GY is a professor, when Ruxu suddenly added. Chen Minjuan patted my hand, smiling from ear to ear. GY, I never expected someone so young to be so accomplished. That's truly remarkable. I smiled without saying anything. I had been influenced by my master. I joined Doctors Without Borders because of my master. Going to South Africa for humanitarian relief was also my master's suggestion. He said it would be a good experience for me if I had known the incident would happen there. I never would have listened to my master. After dinner at the Wen residence, I prepared to leave. Chen Minjuan warmly took my hand and told me to visit whenever I had time. She even personally escorted me to the gate. Ruxu, make sure GY gets home safely. I was about to make an excuse and say there was no need, when a black Maybach slowly approached and stopped outside the Wen residence. I couldn't have been more familiar with that car. It was Jia Yunshu's car. As soon as the car stopped, Jia Yunshu stepped out of the back seat. She had waited for GY for over an hour and had finally seen me come out. When Ruxu looked at Jia Yunshu and raised an eyebrow slightly, "Why are you here?" "Naturally, I'm here to pick up GY." Jia Yunshu replied to her. Chen Minjuan looked at Jia Yunshu, then at me. "Ms. Jia, you and GY?" Jia Yunshu looked at Chen Minjuan, her tone polite yet somewhat distant. "Mrs. Wen, GY is my ex-husband." Chen Minjuan looked at Jia Yunshu in surprise. She had never expected that Jia Yunshu and I had such a relationship. So that meant I was the rumored ex-husband who had secretly married Jia Yunshu. I looked at Chen Minjuan awkwardly. "Annie, we'll be leaving now. Goodbye." With that, I pulled Jia Yunshu into the car. Chen Minjuan smiled as she saw us off. After the car disappeared into the distance, she sighed deeply. "GY seems like a fine young man. I quite like him. I was even thinking of setting you two up. I never expected him to be Jia Yunshu's ex-husband." Her voice was filled with regret. When Ruxu stared in the direction the car had disappeared, her gaze deep and unreadable. So what if he's her ex-husband? They have nothing to do with each other anymore. Even if they still have some connection, at most, they're just good friends. I wouldn't mind if your future husband had been married before, but you saw what happened just now. It seems Jia Yunshu intends to remarry GY. If you pursue him, wouldn't that mean competing with Jia Yunshu for him? Although both were prominent families, compared with the Jia family, the Wen family was still slightly inferior. Offending Jia Yunshu would do them no good. Jia Yunshu may want to remarry him, but GY still has to agree. That's true. But when Ruxu interrupted her mother and said, "Mom, don't worry. I know what I'm doing." Inside the car, Jia Yunshu frowned at the medical kit in my hand. "You treated old Master Wen?" I nodded. "Grandpa Wen's leg condition is quite severe. I can't cure it completely. I can only help relieve his pain. Old Master Wen served as a peacekeeper when he was young. All the injuries on his body were sustained on the battlefield. The injury to his legs was the most severe. Over the years, the Wen family has consulted many renowned doctors, but none of them could cure his legs." Jia Yunshu took my hand. "Don't put too much pressure on yourself. As long as you've done your best, that's enough." I nodded. Before long, the car stopped outside my apartment building. "Thanks for bringing me back. I'll head upstairs now." Jia Yunshu grabbed my hand. "GY, aren't you going to invite me up for a while?" The corner of my mouth twitched. "It's too late, so..." Before I could finish, I suddenly remembered that I had something important to discuss with her. So I immediately changed my tune. "If you don't mind my place being small, you can come up for a while." Jia Yunshu raised an eyebrow. She had already prepared herself to be rejected, but unexpectedly I agreed. Happiness had come rather suddenly. Jia Yunshu followed me upstairs and memorized the elevator code for my floor along the way. Once inside, I took 2 bottles of soda water from the fridge. "I don't have any tea here. I only have soda water, so you'll have to make do with this." Jia Yunshu looked at the soda water in front of her, then leaned into my arms and sat directly on my lap, raising an eyebrow. "Can we just talk properly? Could you keep your hands to yourself?" I pinched Jia Yunshu's chin, smiling faintly. "When adults invite someone upstairs for a cup of tea, surely it isn't really just about having tea, is it?" Jia Yunshu blinked, looking sweet and innocent. The next moment, I kissed her lips. My broad palm rested against the back of her head. As I deepened the kiss, the room was so quiet you could hear a pin drop. The evening breeze drifted in through the half-open window, making the curtain sway gently. On the spacious sofa, an intimate atmosphere filled the air, and the temperature slowly began to rise. GY, my period started. I froze for a moment, then slowly pulled away from her lips. One hand gently caressed her cheek, my breathing still uneven. "Jia Yunshu, you did that on purpose." She blinked, her eyes seemingly sparkling. "You're the one who couldn't control yourself. How can you blame me?" I sighed helplessly to myself and helped her sit up. My broad palm rested over her lower abdomen. "Does your stomach hurt?" I remembered that she was prone to menstrual cramps whenever her period came. Her stomach would always feel very uncomfortable. A little. Get some rest. I'll make you some brown sugar water. But there's nothing in the kitchen. Have Yang Ting buy some. As she spoke, Jia Yunshu picked up her phone and called Yang Ting. My palm gently rubbed her stomach. Your menstrual cramps need to be treated gradually. Otherwise, every period will be torture. It hurts me to see you suffer too. Jia Yunshu looked at me and said, I'm too lazy. It's nothing serious anyway. I can handle this much pain. Besides, it only hurts for a day or to each month. There was nothing I could do with her. Jia Yunshu, there's something I want to tell you. Go ahead. I sat up straight and stared at her, taking a deep breath. Jia Yunshu, back in Jincheng. You gave me a month to decide whether I wanted to get back together with you. There's no need to wait a month. I can give you my answer right now. Jia Yunshu froze. GY. She stared at me, both nervous and expectant. Then, what's your answer? Just as I began to speak, Jia Yunshu cupped my face and kissed me. She rested her forehead against mine, her voice cautious and tentative. GY, you know what answer I want. If that's not your answer, then don't say it. I gently placed my hand over her heart, feeling her heartbeat. Jia Yunshu, your heart is beating so fast. Are you nervous? Yes, I'm very nervous. She was so nervous that her heart felt ready to leap out of her chest. I laughed and leaned in to kiss her lips. My answer is that I'm willing to be with you. Jia Yunshu's body stiffened. I gently caressed her cheek. I thought about it, and I still decided to give us a try. Just like you said, if we don't try, how will we ever know if we're truly right for each other? I don't know whether our relationship will last forever. I just don't want to miss this chance. Even if we end up parting ways someday, the days I spend with you will still be some of the best moments of my life. I looked at the stunned Jia Yunshu and poked her. Jia Yunshu, why aren't you reacting at all? GY. Jia Yunshu suddenly threw herself into my arms, wishing she could keep me all to herself. So, you've accepted my confession, right? At that moment, excitement and joy filled Jia Yunshu's entire heart. She had long prepared herself for a prolonged battle. But unexpectedly, happiness had suddenly arrived without warning. I nodded with a smile. Yeah. I accept. So I officially have a place in your life now, right? I raised an eyebrow, not understanding what she meant. Just as I was about to ask, Jia Yunshu said, I'm your girlfriend now. Right? I burst out laughing. Yes, as soon as I said that, she pressed her lips firmly against mine. Our lips met, lingering in a passionate kiss, only when she was nearly out of breath did she reluctantly let me go. She cupped my face in her hands. GY, I love you. Warmth filled my heart, and the smile on my face grew brighter. I looked at Jia Yunshu and asked, Jia Yunshu, are you happy now? Yeah. I'm so happy I can barely breathe. My eyes shifted thoughtfully as I tentatively asked, then can I ask you for a favor? Sure. Your boyfriend needs your help. Will you help me? Of course. I immediately set her down on the sofa. Wait here for me. I ran back to the bedroom and quickly brought out my laptop. Jia Yunshu looked at me curiously, wondering what I was doing. As I opened my laptop, I said, G Corporation wants to secure the North Suburbs Development Project. I know the Jia Corporation also has its eye on this project. Jia Yunshu, could you give me some inside information you know about this project? Jia Yunshu froze. G Corporation is also planning to bid on this project. I nodded. Yes, Jia Yunshu, considering that I agreed to be your boyfriend, could you give me some inside information? This project is very important to me. Jia Yunshu looked at me with a complicated expression. GY, did you agree to be with me just so you could get information about this project from me? I thought about it for a moment. More or less. Originally, I had planned to accept Jia Yunshu's confession a month later, but now that I needed her help, I moved it up. Jia Yunshu stared at me. The warmth and happiness that had just blossomed in her heart were extinguished as if by a bucket of cold water. I had accepted her confession, so I could ask for her help as her boyfriend. Not because, as she had imagined, I had wholeheartedly accepted her love. I still liked Ji Lingshuang so much. I had already rejected Jia Yunshu countless times because of her. So, how could I possibly have accepted her confession so easily this time? Jia Yunshu, I know Jia Corporation has made a lot of preparations for this project. If you're willing to let me have this project, I can cover all of your losses. I wasn't short of money, but because this was a government project, money alone couldn't secure it. Given G Corporation's background and strength, we definitely couldn't compete with Jia Corporation. But if Jia Yunshu was willing to help me, that would be a different story. Jia Yunshu looked at me, not knowing whether to laugh or get angry. GY. If you want this project, you can just tell me directly. You don't have to force yourself to accept me. I didn't understand what she meant. Aren't I telling you directly right now? Jia Yunshu stared at me without saying anything. Just then, the doorbell rang. I stood up. I'll get the door. It was Yang Ting. She had bought some kitchen supplies and ingredients, including brown sugar. I took everything into the kitchen and silently got to work. Jia Yunshu walked into the kitchen and hugged me from behind. I turned around, lightly kissed her lips, and said, "Love you." Jia Yunshu's eyes flickered, a gentle warmth spreading through them. Perhaps she had misunderstood, since I had accepted her. I probably still had feelings for her. While she was thinking this, she heard me say, "Jia Yunshu, you have to help me with the North Suburbs project. If I can't secure this project, we might not be able to stay together. If I secured this project, Grandpa would no longer oppose Jia Yunshu and me being together. So, no matter what, I had to do everything I could." Jia Yunshu's body stiffened sharply. The tiny spark of hope that had just ignited in her heart vanished in an instant. So, what he meant was, if she couldn't help him secure the North Suburbs project, he wouldn't stay with her. Sure enough, he had only accepted her because of the project. Seeing Jia Yunshu remain silent, with something clearly wrong with her expression. "Jia Yunshu, what's wrong? Did I say something wrong just now? Go wait for me in the living room. The brown sugar water will be ready soon." Jia Yunshu replied flatly, "Okay." She turned and went back to the living room. The more I thought about it in the kitchen, the more something felt wrong. Jia Yunshu's expression just now looked like she was angry. But what was she angry about? Could it be because of the North Suburbs project? I thought about it carefully. It wasn't impossible. After all, Jia Yunshu had prepared for this project for so long. Asking her to help me now was indeed putting her in a difficult position. What a headache. A bowl of brown sugar water with egg was soon ready. I brought it out and told her to drink it while it was hot. But judging from Jia Yunshu's expression, she really did seem angry. "Get some rest early. I'm going home." She didn't even drink the brown sugar water. I hurried over and grabbed her hand. "Jia Yunshu, are you angry?" Jia Yunshu pulled her hand away from mine. Her tightly pressed lips looked cold and distant, and no emotion could be seen in her eyes. "GY, I will never use my feelings as part of a transaction." I froze. "A transaction?" I stared at Jia Yunshu. "What do you mean?" "I don't care for fake affection. Obtained through some kind of deal." My face instantly turned pale. She actually thought my feelings for her were fake? I stood there in a daze. It wasn't until I heard the door close that I suddenly came to my senses. Jia Yunshu had already left. I was the only one left in the spacious apartment. It was so quiet you could hear a pin drop. Looking at the brown sugar egg on the table, my nose stung with emotion. "Jia Yunshu, you damn woman, what gives you the right to say my feelings for you are fake? You bastard." Jia Yunshu returned to Eugene Villa, seething with anger. All night, her emotions had risen and fallen like a roller coaster, only to end in disappointment. She needed to calm down, but no matter how hard she tried, she couldn't get me out of her mind. That heartless man. What she wanted was for me to accept her wholeheartedly. Even if I didn't love her as much as she loved me, there could never be any exploitation or deception. Jia Yunshu stayed in the study until dawn. She was so angry with me that she didn't sleep a wink all night. Early the next morning, Jia Yunshu summoned Yang Ting and Shang Qianing. "What's the situation with Jia Qiyu right now?" Jia Yunshu asked. Yang Ting reported. "She's been reaching out to the company's senior executives lately, but she hasn't made much progress. Only 2 of them have agreed to meet with her." Jia Yunshu nodded. Jia Qiyu was certainly putting a lot of effort into company affairs. If Jia Yunshu's guess was correct, Jia Zemin would soon transfer the shares he held into Jia Qiyu's name. As for the North Suburbs project, we still have control over it. Although Jia Qiyu has obtained the core documents, our people handled all the previous negotiations, and the other side only recognizes our people. Jia Qiyu hasn't made any progress. Jia Yunshu looked through the documents Yang Ting handed her, a cold look settling between her brows. Shen Qianing looked at Jia Yunshu and smiled. Jia Qiyu can't handle this project. In the end, they'll definitely need you to step in. Jia Yunshu gave a cold snort. Since she's so confident, then let her handle it. I don't have time to clean up her mess. If that's the case, Jia Yunshu interrupted, I have my own plans. Since she had already said that, Shen Qianing didn't say anything more. Your father's birthday banquet is quite a grand affair this year. Every prominent figure received an invitation today. I heard Jia Qiyu personally delivered all of them. Do you think at tomorrow's banquet, your father will publicly announce Jia Qiyu's identity? Jia Yunshu sneered. What else do you think? He's been paving the way for Jia Qiyu all this time. 4. Then aren't you going to do something about it? You're just going to let that illegitimate daughter Jia Qiyu waltz into the family. Wouldn't that be letting her off too easily? Jia Yunshu narrowed her eyes slightly, her entire body radiating a chilling aura. What's the rush? The real show is yet to come. Shen Qianing nodded knowingly. Just then, the study door was pushed open from outside. Jia Linger ran in with a smile. Sis. Brother GY is here. Jia Yunshu froze for a moment. Shen Qianing and Yang Ting exchanged a glance, smiling teasingly. If there's nothing else, we should get going. So, we don't interrupt Jia Yunshu's romantic time. Before she could finish, Jia Yunshu interrupted. Can't you see I'm busy? Get out. Shen Qianing was stunned. What's going on? Jia Linger also looked at her in confusion. Brother GY said he wants to see you. He has something he wants to tell you. Jia Yunshu clenched her fist. I won't see him. I'm busy. Jia Linger's lips twitched. Are you sure? Jia Yunshu said coldly. Get out. After Jia Linger left, Shen Qianing looked at her with a gossipy expression. What did GY do to you this time? Or did you have a fight? Jia Yunshu leaned back in her chair and rubbed her temples, letting out a helpless sigh. I really don't know what to do with him. Jia Yunshu could guess why I had come to see her. It was definitely about the North Suburbs project again. She refused to see me not because she didn't want to, but because she didn't want to hear me talk to her about work. It would make her lose control of her emotions and make her feel as if their relationship was merely a transaction. Jia Yunshu was even more worried that under these circumstances, she wouldn't be able to control her emotions and would end up hurting me. In all her 20-something years of life, I was the only person who could affect her emotions so deeply. Whenever she faced me, she could never properly control her emotions. A single word from me could influence all of her joy, anger, sorrow, and happiness. Jia Yunshu remained silent. Shen Qianing became even more curious. She looked at Jia Yunshu teasingly and asked, Did GY do something earth-shattering again? Jia Yunshu was silent for a moment, then said, He accepted my confession. Shen Qianing slapped the table. Isn't that a good thing? Your suffering has finally paid off. This calls for a celebration. Jia Yunshu said nothing. Downstairs, after hearing what Jia Linger said, I was furious. After thinking about it all night, I finally figured out why Jia Yunshu had gotten angry and said those things last night. She must have misunderstood why I had agreed to be with her. She thought the only reason I agreed to be with her was because of that project. How could that be possible? I had come over first thing this morning precisely to clear up this misunderstanding with her. Who would have thought she'd refuse to see me? That made me even angrier. Fine. If she wouldn't see me, so be it. I turned around and headed outside. Brother GY, Jia Linger chased after me, but I had already driven away. What on earth is going on with those two? After being turned away by Jia Yunshu, I returned to my apartment in a huff. I shut myself alone in the bedroom. I had gone there intending to apologize to her and clear up the misunderstanding, yet she actually refused to see me. The more I thought about it, the angrier I became. Suddenly, my phone rang. I thought it was Jia Yunshu, but when I picked it up, I realized it was Wenruxu. A wave of disappointment washed over me. After composing myself, I answered the phone. Hello? Good morning, GY. I'm not disturbing you, am I? I replied listlessly, no. What's the matter? You gave my grandfather acupuncture for his legs yesterday. This morning, he said his legs felt much better than before. He slept soundly all the way until morning last night, and wasn't kept awake by the pain like before. So I wanted to ask if you have time today to come over and check on my grandfather again. I thought for a moment, I have time. I can come over right now. It's the weekend, so I don't have anything else to do. That's great. Send me your location. I'll come pick you up. No need. I'll get ready and be there in half an hour. I hung up the phone. After quickly getting ready, I prepared to head out. If I kept myself busy, I wouldn't have as much energy to think about Jia Yunshu, that damn woman, at the Wen residence. Since it was the weekend, the entire Wen family was home today. After I arrived, I gave old Master Wen an even more thorough full-body examination than yesterday. Based on his condition, I also prescribed several doses of Chinese medicine. Grandpa Wen, from now on, I'll come over every day to give you an acupuncture treatment, along with the Chinese medicine I just prescribed. Take it twice a day for about a month, and the pain in your legs should basically disappear completely. But you also need to take good care of yourself, especially during autumn and winter. The weather in Kyoto is cold and damp, so you must keep your legs warm and avoid cold and dampness. Otherwise, the pain in your legs may return. I explained several precautions to him. Old Master Wen listened and nodded. He said gratefully, GY. Thank you so much. For all these years, because of the pain in my legs, I've woken up from the pain almost every night. Last night was the first good night's sleep I've had in a long time. When King Grong also looked at me with great gratitude. Yes, Mr. G. Thank you so much. Mr. Wen, there's no need to be so polite. After having lunch at the Wen residence, I gave old Master Wen another acupuncture treatment when I left that afternoon, when Ruxu drove me back. As when Ruxu drove, she kept glancing at me in the passenger seat. Are you waiting for a call? I had been staring at my phone the whole time. If I wasn't waiting for a call, I was waiting for a message. No, I put my phone in my pocket and looked out the window. When Ruxu was silent for a few seconds, then said, GY, can I ask you for a favor? Sure. I'm attending a charity auction tonight, and I need a male companion. I raised an eyebrow. The light ahead turned red, and when Ruxu stopped the car, she turned to look at me. Could you do me a favor and be my companion for 2 hours? A charity auction? Will all the prominent figures in Kyoto be there? I asked. It's organized by the city government. Once a year, all the prominent figures in Kyoto will attend. Even if they can't attend personally, they'll send over items for the charity auction in advance. I nodded. Sounds interesting. Sure. I don't have anything else to do tonight anyway. The event starts at 6. I'll pick you up at 5:30, okay? I hadn't brought an evening suit with me on this trip to Kyoto, so I sent Jia Linger a message and asked her to go shopping with me for a suit. Jia Linger headed out as soon as she got my message. When she arrived and learned that I wanted to buy an evening suit, she complained, why didn't you tell me earlier? At Eugene Villa, your walk-in closet is full of evening suits, and they're all custom-made. I could have brought one over for you. I don't want anything Jia Yunshu bought me. It's not like I can't afford my own. I took Jia Linger straight to the GLC boutique. I had always had a particular fondness for GLC suits. As soon as we walked in, a sales associate enthusiastically approached to introduce the collection. No need for an introduction. I'll just look around myself. I couldn't have been more familiar with GLC suits, so I didn't need any introduction at all. The sales associate looked me over a couple of times. I raised an eyebrow. Of course, I was wearing my own brand suits. Why would I need someone else to introduce them to me? Jia Linger had plans that evening, so after we finished shopping, we went our separate ways. When I got home, I checked my phone. There was still no message from Jia Yunshu. I collapsed onto the sofa in frustration. We had only officially gotten together last night. Were we really going to break up this soon? Damn woman. I'm starting to regret this. I shouldn't have agreed to be with her so easily. Women are all the same. They always crave what they can't have, but once they get it, they stop cherishing it. The more I thought about it, the worse I felt. Seeing that it was getting late, I started getting ready. Jia Yunshu, you're going to ignore me, huh? Then just you wait. After styling my hair and changing into my suit, it was exactly 5:30 when Ruxu arrived downstairs right on time. when Ruxu watched me walk out of the apartment. A flash of unmistakable amazement crossing her eyes. I had naturally handsome features, refined yet striking. I was undeniably handsome. Even my body proportions were practically flawless. Even when I dressed casually, my good looks were hard to ignore. But tonight, dressed to the nines, I looked especially dashing. Every movement exuding a uniquely masculine charm. I was so handsome, it was hard to look away. I walked up to Wenruxu. Seeing her staring at me in a daze, I smiled. Looks like I went a little overboard today. Tonight, I'm aiming to be the center of attention. Didn't a certain damn woman love getting jealous? I'd let her have her fill of jealousy tonight, realizing that she had lost her composure. Wenruxu smiled apologetically. You look very handsome today. Thanks for the compliment. 20 minutes later, the car stopped outside a 5-star hotel. The charity gala was being held on a grand scale. Besides wealthy elites and prominent figures, many A-list celebrities from the entertainment industry were also attending. A long red carpet stretched across the hotel entrance, with reporters crowding both sides. Camera shutters clicked incessantly. I got out of the car. As soon as the two of us stepped onto the red carpet, we immediately drew everyone's attention. But the next moment, everyone was stunned. Wenruxu. Why is there a handsome man by her side? Isn't she single? As the president of the Wen Group, Wenruxu had both stunning looks and an amazing figure. Among Kyoto's elite, there were plenty of people interested in her. Wow, the man beside President Wen is so handsome. Could he be her boyfriend? I've never heard of President Wen having a boyfriend. Oh my god, he's unbelievably gorgeous. How can a man be this handsome? With looks like that, he must be a celebrity. On the red carpet, I wore a tailcoat. My tall, well-proportioned figure looking striking and charming. The moment I appeared on the red carpet, the reporters on both sides immediately turned all their cameras toward me. I was like a bright moon suddenly, rising in the darkness of night. The countless stars around me were merely a backdrop. Whenever I appeared, even the brightest stars seemed to lose their luster. Whether it was my appearance or my aura, everything about me seemed utterly flawless. I was breathtakingly handsome. Neither Wenruxu nor I was a celebrity. So, we didn't deliberately stop and pose for photos on the red carpet. We soon walked off the red carpet and entered the venue. Meanwhile, at Eugene Manor, Yang Ting watched with a headache as the mighty CEO Jia Yunshu busied herself in the kitchen. The charity gala is about to start. What are you? Jia Yunshu stirred the porridge in the pot and replied without looking back. Tell the organizers, I have something to do and won't be attending. And add another 10 million to my donation. Yang Ting's lips twitched. Unbelievable. So this something to do is cooking a pot of porridge in the kitchen. Yang Ting sighed helplessly. Fine. She took out her phone, preparing to call the organizers. But just then, an entertainment news alert popped up on Weibo. Her fingers slipped, and she accidentally opened it. When Yang Ting saw it, her eyes widened in shock. Yunshu. What? Jia Yunshu turned around and glanced at her impatiently, although she was still a little angry. Jia Yunshu simply couldn't bring herself to ignore me. From last night until now, she had missed me so much she was going crazy, thinking about the brown sugar egg drink I made for her yesterday. She decided to cook some porridge today to make it up to me. No matter what, she wanted to find me and have a proper talk. Yang Ting walked into the kitchen with her phone. Yunshu, look at Mr. GY. Jia Yunshu frowned and took the phone. Her face instantly darkened. In the photo, the handsome man in a tailcoat stood beside a beautiful woman. They looked like a perfect couple. Jia Yunshu stared at the photo on Yang Ting's phone, her obsidian black eyes slowly narrowing. An icy aura radiated from her. GY. She had been at home missing me terribly, while I, on the other hand, had actually gone arm in arm with Wenruxu to a charity gala, smiling so happily. That damn man was really getting bold. Yang Ting watched Jia Yunshu's expression grow darker and darker, and her heart skipped a beat. Oh no, this is bad. Jia Yunshu was definitely furious. Mr. G really knew how to court disaster, provoking Jia Yunshu at the drop of a hat. Jia Yunshu gripped the phone tightly. Seeing this, Yang Ting quickly slipped away. Mr. G, you're on your own now. At the charity gala, As soon as Wen Ruxu and I entered the venue, someone came over to greet us. President Wen. This must be your boyfriend, right? He's so handsome, President Wen. When did you get such a handsome boyfriend? Why haven't you introduced him to us? They were all business partners of hers. Wen Ruxu smiled faintly, her tone polite. You've misunderstood. This is the future heir of Jishi. We're just ordinary friends. I politely raised my glass. Hello, everyone. Someone looked at me in surprise. Jishi? The Jishi group from Jincheng? I nodded. So, you're the young master of the Ji family. It's an honor to meet you. I clinked glasses with them and exchanged a few pleasantries. Then Wen Ruxu led me to our seats. Just then, from behind me, a somewhat familiar voice suddenly rang out. I turned around and saw the man I'd encountered at the mall that afternoon. I raised an eyebrow, a lazy smile appearing on my face. What a coincidence. Chuji stared at me, especially when he saw me wearing the suit he had wanted. His eyes practically burned with rage. I had practically become the center of attention at the entire gala. When Ruxu glanced at Chuji and greeted him calmly, Mr. Chu. Chuji pointed at me and asked her, what's your relationship with him? We're friends. When Ruxu was somewhat annoyed by Chuji's rude behavior and reminded him, Mr. Chu, pointing at someone, is very rude. Chuji snorted coldly and turned to leave. I ignored Chuji and looked toward the row of seats in front of us. Sure enough, the seat labeled with Jia Yunshu's name was right in the center of the first row. It seemed Jia Yunshu really was on the guest list. I just didn't know whether she would come. Do you know Chuji? When Ruxu asked, I briefly explained what had happened at the mall. That afternoon, when Ruxu said, Chuji and Shiji were classmates. I've met him a few times. You could say we know each other, but we're not close. I chuckled. You don't need to explain it to me. I don't take Chuji seriously at all. While we were talking, we saw a young man quietly walk over. He removed the name card attached to the seat next to Jia Yunshu's, then replaced it with another person's name. I took a closer look. The new name on the seat was actually Chuji. I narrowed my eyes slightly. I couldn't believe it. Chuji actually had his sights set on Jia Yunshu. When Ruxu glanced at me and said, Jia Yunshu probably won't come, I looked at her. Every year, the organizers invite Jia Yunshu, but she either has her assistant send something over for auction or simply makes a donation. She never shows up in person. I nodded. That certainly fit Jia Yunshu's usual way of doing things. I was about to say something when a sudden commotion erupted at the entrance to the banquet hall. Wow, it's Jia Yunshu. Jia Yunshu is absolutely stunning. Doesn't Jia Yunshu usually avoid banquets? What brought her here? Today of all days. But why does she look so upset? Jia Yunshu's aura is kind of terrifying. Jia Yunshu entered the hall with an overwhelmingly commanding presence. At a glance, she spotted me not far away, sitting in a chair and chatting happily with Wen Ruxu. I was dressed to the nines tonight. From my suit to my hairstyle, everything was so impeccable that no flaw could be found. Even just sitting there, without doing anything, I attracted the attention of countless women. Jia Yunshu gritted her teeth hard. Just as she was about to walk over, the organizer came forward to greet her. President Jia, you came. Jia Yunshu nodded expressionlessly and exchanged a few words with the organizer. Then she was escorted toward the VIP section. I watched Jia Yunshu walking toward us and gently swirled the red wine in my glass. I gave a haughty snort. She came after all. I looked at Wen Ruxu with a teasing smile. Looks like even Jia Yunshu can be unpredictable sometimes. Wen Ruxu figured that Jia Yunshu had come, most likely because she knew I was here. President Jia. The organizer escorted Jia Yunshu to her seat. But Jia Yunshu didn't sit down. She walked straight over to me. This seat is pretty good. Wen Ruxu was sitting on my left, while a male celebrity was sitting on my right. When he heard what Jia Yunshu said, he immediately stood up. President Jia, if you like this seat, you can have it. Thank you. Jia Yunshu didn't hesitate and sat down. The organizer beside us didn't dare say anything. What was going on? Damn woman. I gritted my teeth. Just as I was about to take a sip of wine, Jia Yunshu snatched the glass from my hand. I hadn't expected her to pull something like that, and it took me a moment to react. Jia Yunshu, are you crazy? Jia Yunshu lowered her voice, suppressing her anger. Have a cure. Crazy didn't even begin to describe it. I was driving her completely insane. Everyone around us stared at Jia Yunshu and me, their eyes practically popping out of their sockets. Who the hell is this man? How dare he talk to Jia Yunshu like that? And judging by what Jia Yunshu just said, there's definitely something between them. I couldn't be bothered arguing with that damn woman Jia Yunshu. Fine. I wouldn't drink. What the hell is going on? Isn't Jia Yunshu supposed to have no interest in men? Chuji stared at Jia Yunshu sitting beside me, so furious his face twisted. He had deliberately arranged to have his seat changed to one beside Jia Yunshu, but unexpectedly, she had gone and sat beside that bastard instead. What exactly was their relationship? Why was Jia Yunshu so attentive to him? Chuji's gaze turned sharp as he glared viciously at me, as if he wanted to burn a hole through me with his stare. No, he absolutely couldn't give up such a great opportunity. He had to make Jia Yunshu remember him. Yang Ting glanced at everyone's reactions and sneered inwardly. After being by Jia Yunshu's side for so many years, aside from Mr. G, Yang Ting had never seen Jia Yunshu treat anyone this well. I went to see her this morning, but she refused to see me. Now she wanted to make it up to me. It wasn't going to be that easy. Jia Yunshu remained silent. Hello, President Jia. At that moment, Chuji sat down in the seat beside Jia Yunshu. Jia Yunshu gave him a gloomy glance, but said nothing. We met at the bar last time. Chuji looked at Jia Yunshu with an embarrassed expression. I even stained your dress that night. I'm really sorry. Jia Yunshu frowned and recalled what had happened. That photo of her secretly taken at the bar seemed to have been taken when he approached her. Chuji stared at Jia Yunshu and quietly moved a little closer to her. President Jia, do you still remember me? Jia Yunshu replied coldly. No impression. It was almost time. The charity gala was about to begin. I suddenly remembered something and asked when Ruxu, does everyone attending this charity gala have to contribute an item for auction? Yes, this time, the Wen family is auctioning a piece of calligraphy and painting from Grandpa's collection. Old Master Wen was fond of calligraphy and paintings and had collected many valuable works. For this charity gala, he had selected one painting from his vast collection. I thought for a moment and casually removed the ring from my index finger. Since this is for charity, I'd like to contribute as well. I'll donate this ring. I had casually chosen this ring to match the suit I was wearing tonight. The gemstone on it was a rare natural yellow diamond, currently worth close to 8 figures on the market. Jia Yunshu looked at the ring I had taken off, her gaze deep and unreadable. When Ruxu called over a staff member to register it and handed him the ring I had donated. Soon, the charity gala officially began. I glanced at the program and discovered that Shen Simu was actually one of the guest performers. During the intermission later, he would go on stage to sing a song. After the speeches came the auction. Everyone present was wealthy and influential, so the donated items were all extremely valuable. After all, this occasion wasn't merely about charity. It showcased a company's philanthropy and brought prestige to the family. Everyone present was curious about what Jia Yunshu would donate. At that moment, Old Master Wen's donation was being auctioned on stage. After several rounds of bidding, the famous Ming Dynasty landscape painting was sold for 10 million yuan. It was also the first donated item tonight to sell for 10 million yuan. I was very curious about what Jia Yunshu would donate. Our next auction item comes from Mr. G of the G family in Jincheng. Mr. G has donated a diamond ring. The host introduced the item on stage. A spotlight shone down on me, and the giant screen on stage immediately showed my face. I smiled and waved at the camera. Thank you, Mr. G, for generously donating this extremely rare natural yellow diamond ring. The starting bid is 3 million yuan. The bidding begins now. Natural yellow diamonds were already rare, especially one as large as 3 carats. So as soon as the bidding began, people kept raising their paddles and increasing their bids. The 3 million yuan starting price was far below market value, so there were plenty of bidders. Before long, the bidding had reached 8 million yuan. Chuji had also raised his bid twice. He quite liked this diamond ring too, and wanted to buy it. Unfortunately, too many people kept raising the bid, and the price far exceeded his expectations, so he had no choice but to give up. It seemed this diamond ring was quite popular. I wondered who would end up winning it. I smiled. This is my favorite yellow diamond ring. When Ruxu raised an eyebrow and thought for a moment, then raised her paddle. 9 million. I froze. When Ruxu, what are you doing? When Ruxu looked at me with a gentle smile. It's your favorite thing. How could I bear to let someone else take it? The corner of my mouth twitched. I really wanted to tell her that wasn't necessary. I had plenty of yellow diamond rings like this one. 9 million, going once. 9 million, going twice. Just as the host was about to call it for the third time, I heard a familiar voice. 10 million. The host excitedly looked toward Jia Yunshu. President Jia has bid 10 million. Any higher bids? I turned to look at Jia Yunshu and met her deep, dark eyes. My lips curved into a smile. Jia Yunshu, do you like this ring that much too? Jia Yunshu suppressed the anger in her heart, her beautiful features shrouded in an icy chill. Don't you know what I like? She hadn't intended to bid. Anyone could win this diamond ring. Anyone except Wen Ruxu. I snorted coldly. I'm not a mind reader. Any higher bids? 10 million, going once. 10 million, going twice. Just when everyone thought Jia Yunshu would win the ring. For the staggering price of 10 million. When Ruxu raised her paddle again. 11 million. I looked at Wen Ruxu in surprise. Was she planning to go head-to-head with Jia Yunshu? Wen Ruxu gave me an enigmatic smile, but said nothing. Jia Yunshu sneered. 12 million. She was determined to get this ring. The bidding continued. Wen Ruxu bid 13 million. Jia Yunshu countered 15 million. I shook my head at Wen Ruxu and whispered, don't bid any higher. Anything more than this isn't worth it. Although the money would be used for charity, no one's money grew on trees. This ring was worth 10 million at most. Any higher would be far too much. Wen Ruxu nodded and stopped bidding. Actually, from the moment Jia Yunshu started bidding, she already knew Jia Yunshu would ultimately win the ring. The only reason Wen Ruxu had raised the bid several times was to drive the final price higher. Even if she couldn't win the ring, she wouldn't let Jia Yunshu get it so easily. 15 million, going once. 15 million, going twice. 15 million, going 3 times. Sold. Congratulations, President Jia. And thank you, President Jia, for your generous contribution to charity. Yang Ting followed the staff to complete the formalities, and soon brought back the ring I had donated. Jia Yunshu took the box. The next moment, she took out the ring with one hand and grasped my right hand with the other, slipping the ring onto my middle finger. The camera happened to be focused on the audience. When the director happened to catch the scene, the camera immediately zoomed in. Wow! A wave of exclamations erupted from the crowd. Am I seeing things? What did I just see? Jia Yunshu actually put the ring she just won on Mr. G's finger. Did you notice? She put it on his middle finger. Is Jia Yunshu proposing to Mr. G? So Jia Yunshu bought the ring to give it to Mr. G. Are they dating? Wait, that doesn't make sense. If Jia Yunshu and Mr. G are dating, why did he come here with President Wen? Even I hadn't reacted yet, before Jia Yunshu grabbed my hand and forcefully slipped the ring onto my finger. What are you doing? With the camera pointed at me, I couldn't lose my temper, so I could only glare at her. Jia Yunshu played with my hand and said with a faint smile, it fits perfectly. It looks better on your middle finger. My expression turned cold as I stared unhappily at Jia Yunshu. What do you mean by this? Didn't she know you couldn't casually give someone a ring? And she had even put it on my middle finger. Didn't she know what that meant? Jia Yunshu held my hand intertwining her fingers with mine. In this lifetime, I don't want you accepting a ring from anyone but me. The only person in this world who could put a ring on my finger could only be her. I pursed my lips, a mixture of emotions surging through my heart. I couldn't describe what I was feeling. If that was really how she felt, then why, when I went to see her this morning, did she refuse to see me? She was clearly the one who misunderstood, yet she wouldn't even give me a chance to explain. She hadn't contacted me all day either. I gave a haughty snort. A woman's words are nothing but lies. Jia Yunshu kept holding my hand. Seeing that I had stopped struggling, she secretly breathed a small sigh of relief. Chuji stared at Jia Yunshu and my tightly clasped hands, gripping his phone tightly. He wished he could rush over and punch me in the face. It was bad enough that I'd taken the suit he wanted, but now I even dared to steal the woman he had his eye on. He would never let this man off. Absolutely not. The subsequent auction items were all impressive, but I was no longer paying attention to them. All I wanted now was for this to end quickly, so I could drag Jia Yunshu somewhere private and give her a good lesson. Next is our final auction item. A mutton fat jade pendant. This auction item was donated by the Jia group. The starting bid is 5 million. My entire body stiffened. At that moment, the large screen on the stage switched to the jade pendant on Miss Lee's tray. The camera zoomed in, giving the jade pendant a close-up. The pendant was only the size of a cherry. It was smooth and snow-white, yet shimmered with rainbow-colored light under the lights. Two characters could faintly be seen engraved on it. Jia Yunshu frowned and turned to look at Yang Ting. What's going on? This isn't the item the Jia group donated. Yang Ting was equally confused. She clearly remembered that the item she had delivered was an antique vase Jia Yunshu had bought overseas at a high price 2 years ago. How had it turned into a jade pendant? Yang Ting didn't dare delay. She immediately stood up and said to Jia Yunshu, "I'll look into it right away." Jia Yunshu stared at the jade pendant on stage and suddenly found it somewhat familiar, just as she was thinking about where she'd seen it. I suddenly shook off her hand and sprang to my feet. 10 million. The crowd erupted in surprise. I was the first person to bid, yet I'd raised the price by 5 million in one go. People couldn't help but wonder, what was so special about this jade pendant? I stared at the pendant on stage, clenching my fists tightly, my face filled with anger. That was my jade pendant. When Jia Yunshu and I got married 2 years ago, I gave this jade pendant to her because I had amnesia at the time. I didn't know how important this jade pendant was to me. After I regained my memories, I asked Jia Yunshu for it, but she said she couldn't find it. I never expected to find it here today. Didn't Jia Yunshu say she couldn't find it? If she couldn't find it, how did it end up here? Or had she completely forgotten that this jade pendant was my wedding gift to her? It was the only valuable thing I had at the time. I wanted to give her my very best, but what did I get in return? Jia Yunshu reached out to take my hand. I forcefully shook her hand off. Don't touch me. The crowd was stunned. Holy crap, he actually dared to shake Jia Yunshu off. That's way too bold. Mr. G is incredible. Jia Yunshu froze for a moment and immediately figured out why I was so furious. GY, listen to my explanation. Are you okay? When Ruxu also noticed something was wrong with me and quietly asked. Realizing I'd lost my composure, I took a deep breath and sat back down. I smiled at Ruxu. I'm fine. Then I turned an icy gaze toward Jia Yunshu, my smile full of mockery. Jia Yunshu, there's no need to explain. Once I gave it to you, you were free to do whatever you wanted with it. If she had cared about me even a little, she wouldn't have donated my gift to a charity auction. With my very first bid, I raised the price from 5 million to 10 million. Everyone could see that I was determined to have it. So no one bid any higher. As expected, I ultimately won the jade pendant. There was a reception after the charity auction, but I wasn't in the mood to attend. Once I got the jade pendant, I prepared to leave. Jia Yunshu rushed over and blocked my path. I looked coldly at Jia Yunshu. Jia Yunshu, what exactly do you want to explain? That you don't know how this jade pendant ended up at the charity auction? Or that you didn't even know this jade pendant was the wedding gift I gave you? I couldn't bring myself to say the words wedding gift. After all, we were already divorced. I really don't know why this jade pendant appeared here. GY, stop. I don't want to hear it. Move. Before I could finish speaking. Ignoring all the people watching, Jia Yunshu grabbed my hand and dragged me outside. She said domineeringly, if you don't want to listen now, then we'll go home and talk it through slowly. Jia Yunshu, let go of me. I was furious. With so many people watching, she was dragging me away like this. She might be shameless, but I still had my dignity. Jia Yunshu, don't think I won't fight back. Then try it. As we walked out of the hotel, Yang Ting hurried forward and opened the car door. I reacted extremely quickly. I rolled across the seat and slid to the other side. I quickly opened the door on the other side and jumped out. The entire process took less than 2 seconds. GY, just then, a black sedan approached from behind us. I hurriedly opened the door and got in. The car sped away. Yang Ting stood to the side, completely dumbfounded. Yunshu, should we chase them? That car just now looked like Wenruxu's. Jia Yunshu clenched her fist tightly. She opened the car door and got in. Follow them. After getting into the car, I took off my shoe and looked toward Wenruxu in the driver's seat. Wenruxu glanced at my foot. What happened to your foot? I twisted it. I was moving too fast just now and twisted it when I jumped out of the car. Wenruxu frowned. Is it serious? Do you need to go to the hospital? No, just take me home. I'll put some ice on it when I get back. As Wenruxu drove, she glanced at the rearview mirror. Jia Yunshu seems to be following us. I lowered the window and glanced at the rearview mirror. Jia Yunshu's car was indeed following behind us. Ignore her. I'm furious right now. I don't want to see her at all. Wenruxu glanced at me. Then should I take you home now? Home. All I want to do right now is go home and sleep, and put all these annoying things and people far out of my mind. Wenruxu casually changed the subject. By the way, why did you suddenly decide to buy that jade pendant? That jade pendant originally belonged to me. When Jia Yunshu and I got married, I gave it to her as a wedding gift. Just talking about it made me irritated. That damn woman Jia Yunshu didn't deserve that piece of jade at all. That jade represented my entire fortune, something countless people coveted. Unfortunately, someone couldn't recognize its value. I smiled bitterly. If those guys found out this jade pendant had been put up for auction, with a starting bid of 5 million, they'd probably be so furious they'd cough up blood. I couldn't afford to lose it again. Before long, the car arrived at the apartment building where I lived and came to a stop. Before getting out, I glanced at the rearview mirror. Jia Yunshu's car was parked across the street. She didn't seem to have any intention of getting out. That was perfect. It saved me the trouble. After saying goodbye to Wenruxu, I went upstairs. As soon as I entered, my phone rang. It was Ellie calling. I answered, but before I could say anything, Ellie's furious roar came through the phone. Oh, why? What the hell were you thinking? You actually put Yazi up for auction? Did you get your head caught in a door? I frowned. Wasn't she abroad? How did she hear about it so quickly? How did you know? I asked, looking at the jade pendant in my hand. Yazi was the name of this pendant. The hidden sect never forgets a favor, and Yazi never lets a grudge go unavenged. No one would ever imagine that this tiny jade pendant was the token of the hidden sect. I saw it on Moments. Some rich kid in Kyoto posted a picture, saying there was some charity gala in Kyoto tonight. I poured myself a glass of water and said calmly, "Don't worry, I bought Yazi back." Huh? What exactly happened? I thought for a moment and briefly explained what had happened. As for why that jade pendant ended up on the auction stage, I knew it had to be that damn woman Jia Yunshu. Oh, why? Even though I'm a woman too, I still have to warn you. You should never trust what women say. You're a man destined for great things. Women will only slow down the speed of your blade. I chuckled from the sound of that. You think I should grow old alone? Ellie laughed ingratiatingly. You don't have to grow old alone. You've still got me. We've known each other for so many years and know each other inside and out. It wouldn't be bad to spend our lives together. Oh, why? As long as you say yes, I'll give you the wedding of the century. Get lost. Ellie snorted indignantly. This is my first time proposing to someone, and that's how you treat me. Stop fooling around. No way. I was born to fool around. I can't live any other way. I rolled my eyes. Enough joking. I need you to do something for me. Go ahead. There's a development project in Kyoto's northern suburbs. I need it, since Xie Yunshu wouldn't help me. I could only find another way myself. But if I did that, there was no way I could keep my other identity hidden. So, Jishi is preparing to enter the Kyoto market. That's Grandpa's intention. Alright, I'll get it done within 2 days. Thanks for the hard work. Spare me the empty pleasantries. If you really think I'm working hard, hurry back. I'm drowning in work here. Those old geezers cause trouble every single day. They're driving me crazy. Ellie paused before saying, "Oh, why? Don't say I didn't warn you. If you don't come back soon, those old geezers are going to squander everything you own." I frowned. What happened? I dealt with a trader yesterday. He stole one of your prescriptions and sold it on the black market for a fortune. I haven't found out who the buyer is yet. But don't worry. Sooner or later, I'll get that prescription back for you. I narrowed my eyes dangerously. Those arrogant old bastards had already set their sights on my belongings. It seemed it was time to go back and put things in order. I said, "I'll go back once I'm done with this project." Meanwhile, downstairs at the apartment building, Xie Yunshu sat inside the car, staring at the apartment building before her. I lived on the 26th floor. Looking up from here, she could only see the light on my balcony. Xie Yunshu clenched her jaw, her hand on her knee tightening into a fist, as if desperately suppressing something. "Yunshu, aren't you going upstairs?" Yang Ting asked cautiously. Xie Yunshu wanted to go upstairs to see me, but she was in an extremely foul mood, right on the verge of exploding, and I was still furious as well. If she went upstairs, the two of us would inevitably end up arguing. She was afraid she wouldn't be able to control herself. Xie Yunshu took a deep breath. An icy aura radiated from her entire body, as violent negative emotions engulfed her. She had never felt so conflicted before. She desperately wanted to get close to someone, yet she was afraid to approach me. Back to the office, Xie Yunshu told the driver. Perhaps work could distract her and help calm her emotions. On the way back to the office, Yang Ting received a phone call. After exchanging a few words, Yang Ting hung up and turned to Xie Yunshu. "Yunshu, we've found out what happened." Xie Qiyu switched the donated auction item. Xie Yunshu pursed her lips, a dark glint flashing in her eyes. How did that jade pendant end up in her hands? Yang Ting didn't know either. Xie Yunshu narrowed her eyes dangerously, as something suddenly occurred to her. Shortly after she and I got married, we had lived at the family residence for about a month, and when I gave her that jade pendant, we happened to be staying there. That jade pendant must have been casually placed in a drawer in the bedroom at the family residence. No wonder when I later asked her for the pendant, she had searched the bedroom and study at Eugene Villa, but couldn't find it anywhere. So it had been at the family residence all along. If that was the case, Xie Qiyu must have entered her bedroom at the family residence. Otherwise, how could she have gotten that jade pendant? As for Xie Qiyu replacing the item she had originally planned to donate with the jade pendant, Xie Ziming must have known about it as well. But what exactly were they trying to accomplish? In a luxurious private room on the top floor of Kyoto's sleepless city, Xie Qiyu had one arm around a handsome man and held a wine glass in her other hand, looking completely relaxed. The man in Xie Qiyu's arms picked up the bottle and poured her another glass of wine. "Miss Xie, you seem to be in a very good mood today." "Do I?" Xie Qiyu curled her lips, a mysterious smile flickering in her eyes. Another man leaned closer. "Miss Xie, did something good happen?" Xie Qiyu pinched his chin. "Want to know?" The man smiled. "Miss Xie, you're such a tease. Stop keeping us in suspense." "Ha!" Xie Qiyu laughed twice in delight. She glanced at the time, pushed the man in her arms aside, and stood up. The man tugged at the hem of Xie Qiyu's clothes, looking up at her pitifully. Xie Qiyu glanced back at him, her gaze indifferent. "I'll come see you again next time." Seeing that Miss Xie was about to leave, the man said, "Miss Xie, it's still early. Stay and have some more fun." Xie Qiyu looked down at the man sitting on the sofa. Her voice was utterly cold. "Let go." She hated clingy men. They were incredibly annoying. Xie Qiyu snorted coldly and walked out. Her assistant, Zhou Tao, had been waiting outside. When he saw her come out, he followed her. After leaving Sleepless City, Jia Qiyu asked as soon as she got into the car, "Did anything interesting happen at the charity gala?" Zhou Tao replied, "Jia Yunshu bought the diamond ring, donated by Ji Huai for 15 million, and then gave that ring back to him. She really is generous, spending a fortune just to make a man smile." Ever since what happened last time, she had already realized that Jia Yunshu had truly fallen for me. Zhou Tao continued, "And the donated item you had someone switch. The jade pendant that was found in Jia Yunshu's room was bought by Ji Huai for 10 million. Looks like I won the bet. The jade pendant had my name engraved on it. She had guessed that it must belong to me, seeing the wedding gift he had given away being donated and put up for auction. She wondered what I would think. In the end, Ji Huai got into an argument with Jia Yunshu at the gala and was forcibly dragged out of the hotel by her. But in the end, he got into Wen Ruxu's car." Jia Qiyu chuckled softly. How interesting. It was a bit of a pity that she had missed such an entertaining scene. "I got into Wen Ruxu's car. Jia Yunshu must have been furious, right?" Zhou Tao nodded. "Definitely. I saw Jia Yunshu's face change from anger at the time." The smile on Jia Qiyu's face grew brighter. She had known this would be the outcome. She had already figured out Jia Yunshu's weakness completely. Dealing with her couldn't be easier. Everything was ready now. All that remained was the final push. Jia Qiyu looked out the car window and smiled. Tomorrow will be a beautiful day. Zhou Tao didn't understand why she had suddenly brought up the weather, but he nodded anyway. The weather forecast says tomorrow will be bright and sunny. It'll be a good day. Zhou Tao nodded. Tomorrow is also Master's 60th birthday. It really is a good day. Jia Qiyu said nothing. She picked up her phone and made a call. "Is what I asked for ready?" "It's been ready for a while." "Second Miss Xia, have you prepared the money?" "Send me the account number," Jia Qiyu said coldly. "I'll transfer it right away." A short while later, Jia Qiyu received a text message on her phone. It contained a long string of numbers. Jia Qiyu transferred 1 million to the account. "Someone will deliver the item tomorrow morning." Does that stuff really work? You'll find out when the time comes. The other party hung up. Jia Qiyu put her phone aside and closed her eyes, feeling the cool early autumn night breeze. Tomorrow's show would surely be even more exciting than today's. Early the next morning, Jia Qiyu heard a servant say that there was a package for her outside that required her personal signature. Jia Qiyu went out and signed for the package. She brought it inside and opened it. Inside the box was a tiny glass bottle about the size of a thumb, containing a clear, colorless liquid. She unscrewed the cap and took a sniff. The liquid inside gave off a faint, delicate fragrance. Less than 3 milliliters of this stuff. Cost $1 million. I hope it really works. Meanwhile, I woke up early and saw the stubble on my face. Staying awake until dawn had left me feeling awful. I found a red cord and threaded my recovered Yazi jade pendant onto it, then put it around my neck. It looked like a simple accessory. Nothing flashy. After breakfast, I received a message from Shen Simu, asking if I had time to examine Tang Heng today. I happened to be going to give Elder Wen acupuncture that afternoon, so we arranged for me to examine Tang Heng at 1 p.m. Afterward, I could head straight to the Wen residence. That afternoon, I went to the Tang residence. Shen Simu was also there. When she heard I'd arrived, she immediately ran out to greet me. "You're here. Come in." The Tang family was all there, and they were all very courteous toward me. Tang Heng's leg had undergone nearly 2 months of rehabilitation, and his recovery was going quite well. He could now manage to walk a short distance with crutches, but it would still take some time for him to fully recover. I gave Tang Heng a thorough follow-up examination. I found that his condition was much better than I had expected. "You're recovering well. It looks like you've kept up with rehabilitation and acupoint massage. At this rate, you'll make a full recovery in 3 months at most." Hearing what I said, Tang Heng breathed a sigh of relief. He could finally put his mind at ease. "That's wonderful," Shen Simu exclaimed excitedly as she looked at Tang Heng. Tang Heng's mother took my hand. Dr. Ji, thank you. And Simu, you've worked hard during this time too. Whenever you had time, you came over to give Tang Heng acupoint massages. The fact that his leg has recovered so quickly is half thanks to you. Shin Simu secretly glanced at Tang Heng and smiled. Annie, you're too kind. It's what I should do. The Tang and Shen families were neighbors, and the two families were quite close. Tang Heng's mother had watched Shen Simu grow up and knew that she had feelings for Tang Heng. She had tried many times to bring them together, but unfortunately her dense son never caught on. His poor mother was beside herself with worry. Later, you can start doing rehabilitation exercises that are more difficult than your current ones. But remember, don't rush things. Take it one step at a time. Also, besides acupoint massage, you can try medicinal herbal foot baths. They'll also be beneficial for your legs. I took out a pen and paper from my medical kit. I'll write you a prescription. Just take it to a traditional medicine pharmacy to get the herbs. Boil them for half an hour, then let the water cool a little. Once it's no longer too hot, you can soak your feet in it. I finished writing the prescription and handed it to Tang Heng's mother. Alright, thank you, Dr. Ji. I'll have someone get the herbs right away. Tang Heng's mother took the prescription and looked at it, then instructed someone to go buy the herbs. After finishing Tang Heng's examination, I was about to leave when Shen Simu asked, "It's Elder Shia's 60th birthday tonight. Are you going to attend his birthday banquet?" Shen Simu asked. I froze for a moment. Only then did I remember that today was Jia Zimin's birthday. I'm not going to celebrate his birthday. I'd sooner go there to cause trouble. I thought you would go. After all, you're so close to Jia Yunshu. Shin Simu had also been at the charity auction yesterday, but the guest performers area was quite far from where I was sitting, so she hadn't come over to greet me. By the time she wanted to come over after the auction, I had already left. When she heard that I was going to the Wen residence to give Elder Wen acupuncture, Shin Simu quickly said, "Perfect, it's on my way. I'll give you a ride." I nodded and didn't refuse. "Wait for me a moment. I'll go upstairs and let Tang Heng know." Like a cheerful little rabbit, Shin Simu happily bounded upstairs. Upstairs, Tang Heng was sitting in his wheelchair reading some documents. "Tang Heng, I have an interview this afternoon, so I need to go back to the company. Tonight, I have to go to the Jia residence. It's Elder Shia's 60th birthday tonight. Uncle Tang and Annie will be going too. If you get bored at home by yourself, you can watch my new movie. I'll try to come back early to give you a massage." Shen Simu rambled on and on. Her eyes and heart were completely focused on the man before her whom she had loved for over a decade. Tang Heng looked at Shen Simu and put down the documents in his hand. His gaze was complicated and filled with helplessness. Shen Simu. Shin Simu immediately walked over to him, moving even closer. "Do you want some water? I'll pour you some." "No." Tang Heng looked at Shen Simu and said coldly, "Just do whatever you want to do. You don't need to come all the way here just to tell me. I don't care, and I'm not interested. And I'll say this one last time. You don't need to come and massage me anymore. I don't need it." On the very first day Shin Simu came to massage him, he had already told her he didn't need it. Unfortunately, with his limited mobility, he had no way to stop her. She was the precious little princess cherished by the Shen family. She was a dazzling star with tens of millions of fans in the entertainment industry. These weren't things she should be doing. Shin Simu said, "Dr. Ji just said that acupoint massage is very helpful for the recovery of your legs. You can't stop doing it. I'll hire a professional massage therapist. You don't need to trouble yourself anymore. It's no trouble at all. Besides, I'm a professional too, and I don't even charge you." In order to give Tang Heng massages, she had turned down a variety shows and specifically made time to learn massage, the traditional Chinese medicine. Massage therapist who taught her said she was very good at it, good enough to open her own practice. Tang Heng took a deep breath. "Shen Simu, can you stop wasting your time on me? Just go do what you're supposed to do." Shen Simu froze and bit her lower lip. I don't think this is a waste of time, as long as it had something to do with him. She never considered it a waste of time. Tang Heng hardened his heart and said coldly, "I told you, I don't need it. I'll tell the servants later not to let you in anymore." Shin Simu was angered by his words. "Do you really hate me that much?" A mocking smile appeared on Tang Heng's lips. "You're only realizing that now." Shin Simu was rendered speechless by his words. Was she really that detestable? Holding back her tears, Shen Simu ran out. Tang Heng watched her retreating figure, his hands clenched tightly into fists. "Tang Heng, You should have done this long ago. Don't you know what she's like? The harder something is to get, the more she wants it. Her feelings for you aren't genuine at all. To her, you're nothing more than a difficult conquest. Once she gets you, she'll cast you aside without a second thought. Since that's the case, don't go soft on her. Making her give up is the best outcome. Shin Simu ran downstairs, afraid of revealing her emotions in front of Tang Heng's parents. She said goodbye to them and pulled me out of the Tang residence. As soon as we got in the car, Shen Simu burst into tears. Tang Heng, that bastard, he actually said he hates me. Why? I've been so good to him. I'd even give my life for him. She was the goddess of countless male fans. So many men pursued her, yet she never cared for any of them. Yet the man she loved said he hated her. Shin Simu was utterly heartbroken. Hearing those words, I was deeply shaken. Shin Simu's feelings for Tang Heng now were exactly like my feelings for Jia Yunshu back then. They were practically identical, willing to give up one's own life. I turned to look at Shin Simu and said softly, I don't know how to comfort you, but as someone who's been through this, I just want to tell you this. Never talk about your own life as if it's worth so little. And never throw your life away for someone who isn't worth it. Shin Simu rubbed her eyes and sniffled. What do you mean, Shin Simu? In this world, aside from life and death, everything else is a small matter. If you lose your life, how can you ever love someone again? Shin Simu nodded, only half understanding. Of course she knew her life was important, but Tang Heng was just as important to her. He was like her very life itself. For some reason, Shin Simu felt that my eyes looked even sadder than hers. Dr. G, you said you've been through this before. Have you ever loved someone this deeply too? I thought for a moment, then nodded. Before I regained my memory, that's exactly how deeply I loved Jia Yunshu. Actually, I still love Jia Yunshu even now. I'm just more clear-headed now. When a relationship isn't worth it, I know when to cut my losses. Shin Simu looked at me and tentatively asked, the person you love is Jia Yunshu, right? My eyes flickered slightly. I looked at Shen Simu with amusement. Weren't we talking about you? How did this turn into talking about me? I'm just curious. As Shen Simu spoke, her eyes reddened again. Dr. G, am I not pretty? Is my figure not good enough? Why doesn't Tang Heng like me? Everyone in the capital knows I like him. Ever since we were kids, people have teased me for following him everywhere. Fine, I admit it. I've been pursuing him since high school. Later, he joined the military to avoid me, but I still didn't want to give up. All these years, I've quietly waited for him. He finally came back, but he was injured. To give him massages, I even went out of my way to learn professional massage techniques. Look at my hands. They're covered in calluses. What female celebrity has hands like mine? So rough they look like I've been digging in the fields? Because of this, my manager lectures me every day. I've done so much for him. But what about him? Thinking of Tang Heng's attitude toward her, Shin Simu felt heartbroken. I've pursued him for so many years. Even if he were an iceberg, shouldn't I have melted him by now? I patted Shen Simu on the shoulder. There's a saying. You can never wake someone who's pretending to be asleep. If someone doesn't like you, no matter how well you treat him, or how much you do for him, he won't be moved. He might even see it as a burden. Is that really how it is? The more Shen Simu listened, the sadder she became. Dr. G, are you really trying to comfort me? Why do I feel even sadder after hearing that? I didn't know whether to laugh or cry. Helping you see reality clearly is also a form of comfort. After all, you've pursued Tang Heng for so many years. Like you said, even an iceberg should have melted by now. His attitude is enough to show how he feels about you. Shin Simu's eyes were filled with unwillingness to give up. But what if Tang Heng is a really huge iceberg? Maybe he just needs more time to melt. I looked helpless. How could she still think that way? She must really love Tang Heng that much. Shin Simu lowered her head. I've always believed that if I just tried a little harder, maybe he'd eventually fall for me. I said softly, in that case. Then try a little harder. Maybe Tang Heng really will be moved by you. Since she loved him so much, I might as well encourage her to try once more. Maybe she'd be luckier than I was. Hearing me say that, Shin Simu's eyes immediately lit up. She even stopped crying. I think so too. After thinking for a moment, Shen Simu added, But he really went too far just now. I've decided not to talk to him for the next few days. I'll give him the cold shoulder for a while. I have a temper too. You know. I smiled and nodded. Exactly. You can't spoil him too much. Shen Simu nodded, then remembered what she'd heard. At last night's charity banquet, she asked curiously. Dr. Ji, did you and Jia Yunshu have a fight? Otherwise, as Jia Yunshu's boyfriend. On such an important day, why wouldn't you be going to the Jia residence? Besides, I heard that after the auction ended last night, you and Jia Yunshu seemed to have had an argument. Just hearing Jia Yunshu's name made me angry. I nodded without saying anything. You're not breaking up, are you? Shen Simu asked. I frowned. I didn't even know how to describe my relationship with Jia Yunshu. Boyfriend and girlfriend. We barely agreed to get back together for an hour before we parted on bad terms. Last night, when she put that yellow diamond ring on my finger, I had already stopped being so angry. I planned to have a proper talk with her after the banquet and clear up the misunderstandings from the past 2 days. Who would have thought something like that would happen afterward? At the time, I was so furious I wanted to hit someone, but after cooling down overnight, I wasn't quite as angry anymore. What really makes me angry now is Jia Yunshu hasn't contacted me all day. Doesn't she want to explain herself some more? Seeing that I remained silent, Shin Simu thought she'd guessed correctly. Looks like this isn't a good time for romance. Dr. Ji, you still like Jia Yunshu a lot, don't you? My eyes flickered slightly. I looked at her with a faint, knowing smile. And how do you know that? I could tell. Shen Simu smiled. Last time on the plane, when Jia Yunshu fell asleep, I saw you cover her with a blanket. And you kept staring at her. If that look didn't mean you liked her. I'll eat this car. I may not have much experience with romance, but I'm an actress. One look at your eyes and I knew your feelings were genuine. You couldn't fake a look like that. I gave a dry laugh and said nothing. Fortunately, we soon arrived at the Wen residence. I got out of the car and said goodbye to her, except for Wen Nuan. Everyone in the Wen family was going to the Jia residence today to attend Jia Zimin's birthday banquet. After finishing old Master Wen's acupuncture treatment, I stayed and played a few games of chess with him. The Jia residence was filled with prominent guests. Jia Qiyu wore a pink evening gown and greeted guests at the entrance as one of the hosts, chatting and laughing with ease. Why haven't we seen Jia Yunshu? Yeah, we've only seen second Miss Jia greeting guests in the front hall. There's not even a sign of Jia Yunshu. She isn't planning to skip tonight, is she? Probably not. After all, today is her father's birthday. As his daughter, there's no way she wouldn't show up. True. I wonder what'll happen when Jia Yunshu and Jia Qiyu come face to face later. Will there be a showdown? Surely not. This is their father's birthday banquet, after all. No matter how badly they get along, they'll restrain themselves on an occasion like this. We'll find out soon enough. The Jia family was still headed by Jia Zimin. At his own birthday banquet, he had an illegitimate daughter, who was previously unknown greeting the guests. It was obvious what Jia Zimin was planning. In high society, illegitimate sons and daughters without proper status had always been looked down upon. But given the Jia family's actions, no one dared show their disdain. After all, the Jia family was the most powerful family in the capital. If Jia Zimin was determined to support Jia Qiyu, then from now on, within the upper-class circle, no one would dare look down on this illegitimate daughter. So even though some people secretly looked down on Jia Qiyu, they still treated her pleasantly on the surface. Some had even begun flattering and currying favor with her. Just before the banquet began, Jia Yunshu and Jia Linger finally arrived. Jia Linger originally hadn't wanted to come back. After all, last time Jia Zimin had said that if she dared leave with Jia Yunshu, then she should never return to this family again. She had her pride too. She could do without this family. The main reason she came with Jia Yunshu was because Yang Ting told her that Jia Yunshu and I had fought, and that Jia Yunshu was in an extremely bad mood. Jia Linger was worried something might happen to her, so she decided to come along. Besides, given the occasion tonight, Jia Linger was also worried her father might cause trouble. Seeing Jia Yunshu and Jia Linger return, Zhou Suwei snorted inwardly. She approached them with a mildly reproachful smile. Yunshu, on such an important day, why are you only arriving now? There's a lot going on at the company. It's understandable that Big Sis arrived a little late. Jia Qiyu also walked over, looking at Jia Yunshu with a hypocritical smile. Hearing Jia Qiyu say that, Zhou Suwei frowned. Even so, you have to consider the occasion. Today is your father's 60th birthday. She glanced sideways at Jia Yunshu. She really didn't seem to care at all. The corners of Jia Qiyu's lips curved slightly upward. She looked innocently at Jia Yunshu. Jia Linger gritted her teeth and glared at Jia Qiyu. Was this woman deliberately trying to stir up trouble? She appeared to be speaking up for Jia Yunshu, but in reality, she was adding fuel to the fire. A classic two-faced schemer. Jia Yunshu let out a cold laugh. Isn't having her here enough? What difference does it make whether I come or not? What kind of thing is that to say? Zhou Suwei lowered her voice and scolded her. Jia Qiyu smiled and said, Big sis, don't misunderstand. Today, Jia Yunshu stared sharply at her, coldly interrupting her. Don't call me that. I don't have a sister like you. Her voice was neither loud nor soft, just loud enough for everyone nearby to hear. The smile on Jia Qiyu's face stiffened for a moment, but she quickly recovered and merely smiled without saying anything. Zhou Suwei frowned. Yunshu, how can you talk like that? Qiyu is your sister. Jia Yunshu looked indifferently at Zhou Suwei. Mom. You're certainly generous. Zhou Suwei glared at Jia Yunshu, then turned to Jia Qiyu. Qiyu, it's almost time. Go get your father. Okay. Jia Linger looked at Jia Yunshu and lowered her voice, asking quietly, Why do I feel like Mom is being way too nice to Jia Qiyu? Her husband had brought his illegitimate daughter home. It was strange enough that she wasn't angry. Yet she was even taking Jia Qiyu's side, going so far as to help her criticize her own biological daughter. Jia Linger really wanted to ask her if she'd gotten her head caught in a door. Jia Yunshu sneered, her expression distant and cold. President Jia, Miss Jia, long time no see. At that moment, a refined-looking man walked over. Wang Haocheng. The moment Jia Linger saw him, she moved behind Jia Yunshu, not wanting to get too close to him. Miss Jia, you seem rather afraid of me. Seeing Jia Linger avoiding him, Wang Haocheng sounded somewhat displeased. Ever since he encountered Jia Linger at a bar half a month ago, he hadn't been able to stop thinking about her. After asking around, he learned that she was the Jia family's second young lady. As it happened, the Wang family had a business deal to negotiate with the Jia family. So, Wang Haocheng proposed to his family the idea of a marriage alliance. Originally, the Jia family had agreed and planned to announce their engagement today. But unexpectedly, they suddenly changed their minds. Jia Yunshu stared coldly at Wang Haocheng, her voice full of warning. Stay away from my sister. Wang Haocheng smiled awkwardly and nodded. President Jia, I don't think I've done anything to offend you. He was eager to curry favor with Jia Yunshu. So, how could he possibly offend her? Jia Yunshu snorted coldly without saying anything and left with Jia Linger, young Master Wang. As soon as they walked away, Zhou Suwei came over. Mrs. Jia, President Jia doesn't seem to like me very much. Zhou Suwei hesitated for a moment, then said with a troubled expression, Maybe it's because you wanted to marry Linger. Wang Haocheng wasn't a fool. Seeing Zhou Suwei's hesitant expression, and recalling how the Jia family had suddenly called off the engagement, he immediately understood. He sneered, So that's the reason. It turns out Jia Yunshu looks down on me and thinks I'm not worthy of Miss Jia. Wang Haocheng stared at Jia Yunshu's retreating figure in the distance, his gaze dark and sinister. After greeting the guests, Jia Yunshu went into the inner hall. Jia Ziming and several Jia family elders were discussing something inside. Jia Qiyu was there as well. When Jia Yunshu walked in, she happened to hear them discussing shares. The moment he saw Jia Yunshu, Jia Ziming stopped talking. Dad, Jia Yunshu stood at the doorway, her tone indifferent. The banquet is about to begin. Dad, everyone, please head to the main hall and take your seats. Jia Ziming glanced at her indifferently. All right, as the guest of honor tonight. The moment Jia Ziming appeared, everyone came forward to offer their birthday wishes. After thanking everyone, Jia Ziming sat down in the seat of honor. The main table was occupied entirely by members of the Jia family. Jia Yunshu sat to Jia Ziming's left, while Zhou Suwei sat to his right. Jia Qiyu sat beside Zhou Suwei. At the two tables closest to the main table were members of the Jia family's extended branches and prominent figures from Kyoto. Jia Qiyu glanced at the wine glass in front of Jia Yunshu, a barely noticeable smile flashing in her eyes. Shortly after everyone was seated, members of the Jia family's extended branches came forward to present birthday gifts. Given Jia Ziming's status, There was hardly anything valuable he hadn't seen before. Most of their gifts were antiques, calligraphy, and paintings. Nothing particularly novel. Jia Zimin merely smiled and didn't pay them much attention. Josue glanced at Jia Qiyu and asked with a smile, "Qiyu, what did you prepare?" Jia Qiyu stood up and carried a box over to Jia Zimin. She said respectfully and obediently, "Dad, this is a jade pendant I personally carved for you. I wish you good health and happiness, and a long and prosperous life." Jia Linger stared at the brocade box in Jia Qiyu's hands and clicked her tongue. Judging from the box alone, the jade inside was surely worth a fortune, and she had even carved it herself. She had certainly put a lot of thought into it. Jia Zimin accepted the box with a smile and opened it. Inside was a piece of imperial green jadeite, about the size of a palm. A lifelike pinang crane motif was carved into it. A hint of pleasant surprise appeared in Jia Zimin's eyes. "This is excellent jade. Qiyu, did you really carve this pinang crane design yourself?" It was obvious that Jia Zimin was very pleased with the birthday gift. Jia Qiyu nodded. "Yes." Josue also leaned closer to take a look at Jia Zimin's birthday gift, then praised it with a smile. Jade carving is extremely difficult. To carve it this beautifully, Qiyu really put a lot of thought into it. As she spoke, she glanced from the corner of her eye at Jia Yunshu, who sat calmly beside them. "Yunshu, it's your father's birthday. Didn't you prepare a gift for him?" Jia Yunshu gently swirled the red wine in her glass. She took a sip and said indifferently, "I've been too busy. I forgot." Josue and Jia Zimin both froze. Although Josue had asked the question, she truly hadn't expected Jia Yunshu to have prepared nothing at all, much less admit it so casually. Everyone at the table looked at Jia Yunshu, each wearing an unreadable expression. As the eldest daughter at her father's birthday banquet, Jia Yunshu had actually prepared nothing. How improper. Under everyone's watchful eyes, Jia Yunshu stood up with her wineglass. "Dad, let me toast you. Happy birthday. May all your wishes come true." Jia Yunshu knew perfectly well what Jia Zimin was thinking. He wanted to support Jia Qiyu, his illegitimate daughter, to compete against her. How could she possibly let him have his way? After a brief pause, Jia Yunshu added, "And may your blessings know no bounds." Jia Zimin gripped his wineglass, his expression turning extremely gloomy. Anger surged rapidly within him. But since this was his birthday banquet, with so many people watching, he couldn't lose his temper. He merely nodded with a dark expression. He raised his glass and took a sip, then said calmly, "Since you're so busy, from now on, let Qiyu help share some of your responsibilities at the company." As soon as Jia Zimin said this, everyone at the table turned to look at Jia Yunshu. Although Jia Zimin was the head of the Jia family, Jia Yunshu was the one who called the shots at the company. As the eldest daughter of the Jia family, Jia Yunshu originally held 20% of the shares. After the old master passed away, of the 20% stake he had held, he left 15% to Jia Yunshu and 5% to Jia Linger. Jia Linger then transferred her entire 5% stake to Jia Yunshu, together with the scattered shares Jia Yunshu had acquired over the years. She now held a total of 46% of the company's shares. Jia Zimin, meanwhile, held only 20%. Although that wasn't even half of Jia Yunshu's stake, he was still the company's second largest shareholder. Everyone's gaze shifted back and forth between Jia Qiyu and Jia Yunshu. Jia Yunshu sat down and cast Jia Qiyu a cold, indifferent glance. "Dad, you want her to join the company?" "Yes, I'm getting old, and I don't want to manage company affairs anymore. You're indeed too busy handling everything alone. I don't want you to exhaust yourself either, with Qiyu helping you. If you sisters work together, the company will surely develop even better." The corners of Jia Qiyu's lips curved upward. Jia Linger clenched her fists and glanced at Jia Qiyu. "Dad actually intended to transfer the shares under his name to Jia Qiyu." Jia Yunshu looked at Jia Qiyu with a faint smile. "Fine." Jia Linger stared at Jia Yunshu in astonishment. She had agreed to let Jia Qiyu join the company just like that. That was letting Jia Qiyu off far too easily. Jia Qiyu raised her glass. "I'll be counting on your guidance from now on." Jia Yunshu's jaw tightened, her gaze sharp and aloof. She didn't even raise her glass. "Yunshu, Qiyu is proposing a toast to you." Jia Yunshu replied coldly. "I can't hold my liquor." Arrogant and cold, without the slightest warmth. From her attitude, everyone could immediately tell just how dissatisfied Jia Yunshu was with Jia Qiyu, although she had agreed with a smile to let Jia Qiyu join the company. In reality, Jia Yunshu still looked down on Jia Qiyu. The atmosphere at the table became somewhat awkward. After the birthday gifts had been presented, the birthday banquet officially began. Jia Yunshu was in a foul mood and had even less desire to look at Jia Zimin's face. After drinking a few glasses of wine, she left the table alone and went to the garden for some air. Once the banquet ended, she planned to come find me. She still needed to explain the jade pendant matter clearly to me. After she'd been there for a few minutes, she heard footsteps approaching from behind. Jia Yunshu narrowed her eyes slightly and flicked the ash from her cigarette. "Big sis, you look like something's troubling you." Jia Qiyu stood behind Jia Yunshu. Jia Yunshu said nothing, but Jia Qiyu wasn't in any hurry. "Don't tell me you had a fight with GY. Speaking of which, it's strange. I thought you'd bring him to Dad's birthday banquet tonight." As soon as she finished speaking, Jia Yunshu fixed Jia Qiyu with a piercing stare. Her mention of me reminded Jia Yunshu of something. "That video you showed me before. Where did you get it?" Jia Qiyu put on a thoughtful expression. After thinking for a moment, she said, "You mean the video of you begging Isaac for the ice jade flower for GY?" Jia Yunshu's jaw tightened. As she waited for her to continue, "There's no harm in telling you." Jia Qiyu chuckled softly. "It was actually quite a coincidence. I know Isaac, and he happened to know about our relationship. Your people had driven him into a corner. He had no choice but to come to me for help. But I've never been one to make a losing deal. If he wanted me to save him, naturally, he had to offer me something worth trading for. So he gave me that video." At this point, Jia Qiyu looked up at Jia Yunshu. "I always thought someone like you, big sis, would never truly fall for anyone. Who would have thought? You've actually fallen in love with GY. Jia Qiyu, if you dare lay a hand on GY, I'll make you regret ever being born." Jia Yunshu stared at Jia Qiyu, her icy gaze filled with warning. Jia Qiyu shook her head. "Big sis, caring so much about GY isn't a good thing." How could Jia Yunshu not understand what Jia Qiyu meant? By caring about me, she was completely exposing her greatest weakness. There were far too many dangers surrounding her, whether within the Jia family or overseas. There were many people who wanted her dead. If I stayed with her, I would inevitably be dragged into it. But since she had decided to be with me, she wouldn't let anyone hurt me in the slightest. Seeing Jia Yunshu remain silent, Jia Qiyu shrugged. "Why are you looking at me like that? Don't worry. I'm not interested in GY. I won't fight you over him." Jia Qiyu smiled at her. After a brief pause, she added, "But when Ruxu seems quite interested in GY." At last night's charity banquet, the two of them even attended together. Rage surged within Jia Yunshu. It was as though a pile of explosives lay buried deep inside her, and Jia Qiyu's words were like a match that could ignite them at any moment. She stared at Jia Qiyu, her gaze growing increasingly dark. "You found the jade pendant GY gave me in my room, then deliberately swapped it with the item I donated for auction. You did it to drive a wedge between Ahwai and me." Jia Qiyu had never expected to keep this from Jia Yunshu. She smiled. "Actually, this had nothing to do with me. It was all Dad's idea. He doesn't like GY, and doesn't want you two together. So he used a little trick to create conflict between you." The moment she finished speaking, Jia Qiyu received a hard slap across the face. Before she could fight back, Jia Yunshu suddenly seized her right hand with tremendous force. The next moment, Jia Qiyu heard a sharp crack. Agonizing pain shot through her wrist. Jia Qiyu let out a muffled groan, gritting her teeth to keep herself from screaming. Jia Yunshu had actually broken her wrist. A sinister chill filled Jia Qiyu's eyes. Jia Yunshu forcefully released Jia Qiyu's hand, then took out a handkerchief and leisurely wiped her hands. Her gaze was razor sharp. "If you dare touch what's mine again, I won't stop at breaking just one of your hands."